we've been goofing around long enough, and now we have to get to work. Yeah, that's the way it works around here. Oh dear, slow mode is on. Well, that's not gonna be very nice. Hello? Hello, everybody? Anybody?
What's up, Goliath Cleric? How you doing, buddy? Hello, Penguin Butt. Scott. Ed Fleming. What's up? Andreas. Dawson. Fire Knight. Lava Tomb. Yo, what's up? Bakusala. What's up? Gets old. Pickle. Sup? Yes, say hi to the cats. They are gathering. Jamie, hello. Yo, Otto. Yo. Groot, what's up? Dawson, I just said your name a second time. What happens if I say it a third time? Lucas, what's up, dude? Sneaky Steve, hello. Shadow Taco, nice name, dude. I don't know what that means, but I like tacos, so it's good. Aaron, what up, dude? Jill DeVra, what's up? Casper, hello. That's a no name. Hi. Family, what's up? Dawson, what's up? D&D Talks, what's up? Fire Knight, I already said Fire Knight. Pretty sure I said Fire Knight. It sounds familiar to me. Joe. Have the cats made an appearance in my campaign, even by name? No, I don't think I've ever used my cats in a campaign. Revolutionary, well, thank you, dude. I appreciate that. Dang. Oh. Whoop, sorry, mommy. Hey, mommy. She was like underneath my feet and I bumped her. Mommy. That's mommy cat. So let's just do a little sneak peek. Mommy cat. She's adorable. It's mommy cat. Yeah, they're all hanging out. I got 3 of them hanging out right here, right now. It's good stuff. Cats, yeah. If my cats were in a campaign, they'd be very overpowered. Yeah. Mommy definitely wants the hugs. Yes. John. Okay, cool. Awesome. Sweet. Thanks, dude. If you subscribe to a patron PDF tier, if you subscribe to tier 3, do you get all the previous month's worth of PDFs? No, not all of them. You get the current month and the previous month. That's it. You don't get all of them. I've already run into people coming in, coming in basically as a patron, grabbing previous stuff and then leaving. So if you could just come in for 1 month and get everything in the past, there would be pretty widespread abuse of that system, and I would not tolerate that. It's not cool. It's not fair to existing patrons who are continuing to pay to have content created each month for them, for people to come in and abuse a system like that. So no, it doesn't work that way. Sorry. Yeah, my moderator, we haven't started yet, but my moderators are putting all your questions into a spreadsheet. So throw them in the chat and they'll get them in a spreadsheet. and I will refer to the spreadsheet and answer questions and stuff. A big chunky tabaxi can be squeaky. Absolutely. Robert Young, what up, dude? Patchwork Poets. The session was interesting. We don't know what that means. Giant Ginger, you're very welcome. I'm happy to help, dude. Diabetic, what's up, dude? Good to see you, man. What games am I running right now? Me? I run a Curse of Strahd game. I run an Ancient Dragon Patron game. It's called Harlequin's Blades, and I run a Youngling campaign as well. So I got 3 games that I do right now, and I do one-shots from time to time for my patrons and for my moderators and stuff. How do you play D&D? Yeah, so I have an entire channel on YouTube dedicated to being a dungeon master, so that some of those videos might be helpful. It's like, one of the questions I get is like, Luke, do you have any tips for, do you have any dungeon master tips you can give me? And I'm like, let me see. I think I made a YouTube channel once upon a time with a bunch of videos on it. Question, what is D&D? You know what? I don't know. I think it's a couple words, a couple letters, and an ampersand in there. Yeah, probably stands for something. My cats are adorable. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, let's kick this show off on the road and get her hopping. There's a bunch of mixed metaphors there for you. Whee! All right, here we go. That's the button. That's the button. The button of doom. All right, hello everybody. Yeah, so live stream tonight. What we're doing is a Q&A. So you're going to be answering the questions. No, you're going to be asking the questions, and I'll be answering the questions. So throw your questions in the chat. My moderators will be picking them up. There is, like, you know, hashtag all caps question, and then it's, yeah, probably figure that out. And then we're just gonna hang out for a few hours tonight, and you can ask me, I don't care, you can ask me about whatever you want. You can ask me what color my socks are. That might be weird. Maybe don't ask me about my socks. Obviously Dungeons and Dragons crap, dungeon mastering stuff, whatever, I don't care. I'm just here to hang out and talk with folks, so whatever. And yeah, so that's what's on the slate for tonight. I'm gonna hit you with some shameless plugs here, because that's kind of my job. Yeah, that's my job. All right, first shameless plug is I'm gonna hit my Patreon PDF. I publish every single month a whole crap ton of Dungeons and Dragons resources for dungeon masters. It includes things like traps, puzzles, magic items, encounters, entire D&D adventures with maps designed for use on virtual tabletops. I've teamed up with the Mad Cartographer to do a lot of these maps, and they are amazingly awesome. You can see some of them on the screen right here. Lots of cool stuff there. The idea here is that it will help reduce your prep time, hopefully, and maybe improve the quality of your games. So go check these things out. I have an entire team I'm putting together. This is a professional, high quality resource. This is not a piece of crap that I throw together in a couple hours and be like, hey, I gave you something, look at this thing. This is not a piece of junk. There's some good stuff in here. The last Patreon PDF we put out yesterday had over 50 pages of Dungeon Master resources in it. Now, obviously, page count doesn't mean everything. I can publish 50 pages of garbage, but this was, you know, this is high quality garbage, I guess, whatever. Anyway, there's a link, there's links floating around. Go check it out if you think this is interesting. If not, that's cool, don't worry about it. Go to my website, thedamlair.com, and you can get free crap too. So here we go. All right. And now we're gonna take a drink. I want to thank all my patrons who help keep the lights on around here and who help me make this patron PDF, because I am employing quite a few different people on my team to make this patron PDF. Content contributors, editors, I have a PDF dude. We put together artwork. We have a whole bunch of crap that goes into this patron PDF, and my patrons help make that possible. So bunch of folks on screen here, very, very cool. And then these folks here contribute at a higher level, and so they get a special read aloud. They get their names read. Whee! All right, here we go. 5e Magic Shop, Arutha, Beoban, Bidibee, Brad A, Brian C, Candy Sora, Chris Y, Barbar Wizard, question mark, Dresna, Ed R, Eric S, Fallon, Goliath Cleric, Izzy T, Jake L, James L, Jeremy W, Josue S, Cal S, Karen C, Kevin W, Kezides, Kurt Y, Kiriako, Leopold X92, Lori S, Luke G, Mad Quad, Michael C, Owen D, Paul B, Penguin Butt, published author, Race W, Rachel S, Robert W, Rock and Roll Joe, Ron H, Ryan G, Sakura, Simon Snapbragger, Sophie M, Son of a Sofa Man, Stephen F, Tactical Tokens, The Old DM, The Pickle, Theta Tag, 3-Zil, Tim Black, Tom N, Tony M, To The Nail Rules, Tyler N, Xavier X, Xavier H, William L, thank you, you're awesome. I did it. That list gets longer and longer every day. I'm gonna have to pre-record that. All right, let's do questions now. Oh, we have some questions. And moderators, if you're at all able to blue the question marks, blue the questions that you would like me to put my eyes on, that'd be appreciated, because there's lots of them coming in. Ted Kiramidis says, what's the difference between the tiers of the monthly PDF? I just got Patreon and I'm ready to take the plunge. So far, I support Dungeon Craft. I like Dungeon Craft, by the way. That's a cool dude. I watched some of his videos. He and I tend to think alike on a lot of things. So glad to hear you support that dude. So basically, there are 3 different tiers to the PDF. Tier 1 is the $5 level, and you get a handful of resources. Like there might be a bunch of magic items or adventure ideas, and then you're gonna get 2 different types of resources. You know what? Let me pull up a PDF. That's probably gonna be the easiest way for me to actually show this to you, dude. It's easier to show you than to explain it, I think. So I'm gonna pull up the last PDF and deliverable. This will be the tier 3 PDF. Let's get it on the right page here and show you my monitor. Okay, this is the latest PDF right here. And let's go to the table of contents. So basically tier 1, this is tier 1. You got a bunch of monsters. So let me zoom. Oh, no, that's fine. You got 10 different homebrew monsters. And these are all the stat blocks for all the different monsters you got on that tier. And then you got 10 different random tables. This is a random table of drinks, foods, taverns, inns, nightmares, locations, events on the road, cities and towns. Okay, so that was tier 1. Folks at the $5 level get that. At the $10 level, you get tier 2 as well. Tier 2 had a bunch of puzzles in it, and then some handouts to go along with the puzzles. And it also, we still got puzzles going on, and then it had an entire adventure. This is a 5th edition adventure that came along with it called a collector. So obviously you have an adventure. All my adventures have read aloud text. I am not lazy. Okay, they have read aloud text to help you run them at the game table. And they have maps that go along with them. This is for virtual tabletops. You get a whole bunch of image files so you can put it in Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds. I make this as easy as possible for you to use. And then at tier 3, you got a bunch of encounters that come with maps for virtual tabletops as well. And you also got another adventure, another 5th edition adventure as well. And this one had a bunch of tables in it because I had a bunch of vendors in this Bazaar of Wonders. And it also came with a map as well. And so, and you can see this is like 51 pages of content. So that's kind of how it works. At the different tiers, you get more content. I mean, that's the way life works. The more you pay, the more you get. It's usually how things work. So hope that helps, dude. Oh gosh, holy crap. Yes, there is so much work that goes into the Patreon PDFs. I have a team of contributors, I have editors, I have a guy who lays them out, I have a graphic designer who puts them into the PDF format. I do writing, I do drafting, I do editing. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into them. Absolutely. Yes, if you're the higher tier, you get everything for the lower tiers. So if you're at like the $15 level, you get everything. You get everything, all 3 tiers. So my $15 patrons would get everything that I just showed you, like everything. And every single month, you're gonna get like a PDF similar to that one, full of stuff. And my Patreon page lists out like more of like specifics and stuff. But if you're a $15 patron, you're going to get 2 entire D&D adventures every single month. So that, shoot, dude, you get a few PDFs under your belt. I mean, you might not have to make any more adventures if you don't want to, but there's always some tweaking to do. So you're probably going to be doing some tweaking and stuff to it. Most adventures are not ready for you to run out of the gate at your game table. Dungeon Master's always got to do some playing around and tweaking. It's just, that's an expectation, you know? Anyway, but it could be a good deal for you. I don't know, whatever. All right, I'm gonna just pick some questions here. I don't see any goals here. What is your opinion on the Gith? I think the Gith are a cool race, and there are 2 different types. There's Gith Sarai and Gith Yankee. They live in the astral plane. No, Gith Yankee live in the astral plane. Gith Sarai live in limbo. They're cool. That's my opinion. Generic questions will get you generic answers. What's my favorite pre-written campaign? I don't know. Waterdeep Dragon Heist was pretty cool. I like that. Curse of Strahd is pretty cool. Takes a lot of work. Curse of Strahd's a lot of work to run. It's not like I should probably mute my phone. Like, hello, I'm streaming right now. Professional. Just put that on vibrate. Whee! And I really like Dungeon of the Mad Mage as well. Dungeon of the Mad, I have not run it. I've run pieces of it. I've run pieces of it, and I've read pieces of it as well. But I've always been impressed how Dungeon of the Mad Mage manages to not only be a massive dungeon and the levels are very large, but there are different factions and there's stuff going on. There's a story being told. Like there's a backstory there. It's not just it's not your typical dungeon crawl where you just stroll through and kill everything and loot the bodies. There's actually stuff going on there, and if run by a competent dungeon master, the players could have meaningful conversations and interactions with the denizens in the dungeon and do things besides just fight stuff. So Dungeons of the Mad Mage has impressed me how they did it. I got that one. Luke, why don't you just hit the player with the Cloak of Displacement with an area of effect or a magic missile? Because I believe in root cause problem solving. That means that if there is a problem in the game, I'm not going to invent a variety of different things to circumvent the problem. I'm going to address the problem. Like, and besides which, how lame is it if like every single encounter has somebody who can cast magic missile. Every single encounter has an area of effect. So he might as well not even have the Cloak of Displacement. It's like, that's not the way to deal with an overpowered magic item. You don't, that's not the way to deal with it. I'd rather solve the problem with the magic item itself and make it more balanced and reasonable than to just be like, oh, magic missile, or just whatever. Always have some scenario that happens that negates the magic item. That's lame too. That's lame. I'd rather solve the problem with the magic item itself. How to get one player to actually share or make a backstory for his character. Who cares? Who cares? If, dude, Dude, if your player doesn't want to make a backstory, who cares? He doesn't make a backstory. I have players who don't make backstories. I have players who do make backstories. I don't care. One way or another. Look at, dude, if you make a backstory, guess what? I am going to honor the fact that you took the time to make a backstory, and I'm going to do cool things in my game that have to do with your backstory, and you're gonna probably enjoy that. If you don't take the time and don't care to make a backstory, well then guess what? I am not going to do anything with your backstory because you didn't make one. And I'm not gonna pressure you to make one. I don't care. If you give me a backstory, I will use it. If you don't, I can still run the game. I don't need your backstory to run the game. I have a main campaign arc, and then I have backstory character arcs. I have character arcs that happen. And the character arcs, those adventures, the character arcs are based on backstories. So I can always run a main campaign arc. I don't need your backstory. But if you give me a backstory, you might go on an adventure with the group. Cool things might happen, you know? But if you don't give me one, then you just don't get a character arc. I won't do anything with your character. You still get to play the game. You still get to go on adventures, and you get experience points, and you level up, and you get cool magic items. You get to play the game. There's just a part of the game, you know, that you won't get to experience. But you know what? Some players don't care. They're fine with that. They're just like, whatever, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to roll dice, eat potato chips and nachos and kill monsters and get like magical boots. That's all I care about. I couldn't care less about a stupid backstory. And if the players don't care about it, they don't care about it. I'm not going to pressure them. Listen, there are various parts of the game. There are lots of different parts of the game that players can engage with or not engage with. And I'm not going to pressure players to engage with one specific part of the game for an arbitrary reason, being I think it's important. They don't value it. They don't think it's important. Well, then great. That's great. I'm not going to pressure them. They can engage with the parts of the game that they like to engage with. I will run a broad, appealing game for all of my players, and some players aren't going to like combat. Some players aren't going to like social interactions. Some players aren't going to care about their stinking backstories. Dude, and that's fine. And for many of the characters I run, I don't bother making backstories. I don't bother. You know why I don't bother? One, I die a lot because I am reckless and I enjoy having my characters die frequently because I get to make new ones. I get bored very quickly if I'm playing the same stupid character all the time. So since I'm gonna die a lot and I kind of accept that, it's kind of a waste of my time to make a backstory. I don't need a backstory to play my character. I don't, you know, I just don't. So anyway, if a player doesn't want to do it, he doesn't want to do it. If you can incentivize them if you want to, be like, oh yeah, if you write a backstory, you get extra XP. You could do stuff like that, you know, but I don't know. I'm not gonna force a player to engage with the part of the game that he's not interested in, you know. And if as long as he knows he's gonna be missing out on the character arcs and he's cool with that, then okay, fine, rock and roll. Any idea to cheer my players up after a few bad sessions where we lost 2 PCs? Suck it up, Buttercup. Death is part of the game. Part of the game. They need to be able to cowboy up. Like I'm maybe I'm heartless, maybe I'm cruel, I don't know. It is a game. It's a game. Yeah, sure, you get attached to your characters and stuff. You need to learn to let go. You need to learn to build a reset. You need to learn it's a game. It's a game. It's a game. Maybe there needs to be more death in the game so people will understand and appreciate the fact that it's a game and that they shouldn't have their emotions tied up in a character. You know, there needs to be like some separation between reality and fiction or something. I don't know. I am not going to, I don't try to, when there's a TPK or when characters die, they die. That's the game. I expect it to be accepted that that's part of the game. I'm not going to try to cheer my players up. You know, I might say, hey, you know what? You died. Huh, that's life. Let's go. What are you gonna play now? What's next? What are you excited about? Let's move on to the next thing. Let's forget about the past and let's move on to the next thing. My youngling players, you guys, this is ridiculous. My youngling players, I started playing with them when they were about 12. And they are now about 15, I think, around there. So we've been playing for, what is that, 4 years or so. I don't know. We've been playing for a while. They've TPK'd once, and several of their characters have died many times. I think there might only be, they've TPK'd, so they've all died. But I did not hold back. I wanted them to understand from the very get-go at a young age that this is a game. And that death is part. Look at you. You're running around in the game world, throwing around fireballs and swinging swords. You ever think that it's a dangerous situation you're in and that you might die? I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of. What do you want to call it? Sympathy in my heart for people who get distraught over character death. If you're disappointed in stuff, okay, yeah, but if you're like crying in a corner, like there's something deeper that needs to be resolved than, you know, a character dying. There's something more going on that needs to be addressed. You know, I don't know. Sorry, I'm probably a cold, heartless jerk. I just don't have sympathy for that sort of thing. It's a game. It's a game, yo. Would you say that paladins are a good class for new players? It depends. It depends. Paladins are a very complex class. They can do lots of different things. They're very complex, so they're probably very difficult to play. That said, they're very fun to play and they're very survivable, and they're very enjoyable to play because paladins get to do lots of different things. They get to do melee attacks. They get to heal people. They get to cast spells. They protect. They have auras and stuff that do cool things to protect their allies. So paladins are a very, very fun class to play. They're very complex. So it really depends on your player. If you have a player who catches on to things quickly, and then they're probably fine. But if you have a player who's like, whoa, holy crap, way overwhelmed, let's say you have what you would probably refer to as like a casual player. I've had casual players, and you can tell the casual player. They're mostly there to hang out with the group. They're not going to study the player handbook away from the game table. They're going to show up every 2 weeks to play D&D, and they're going to have forgotten how everything works. For players like that, you do not want them to play a paladin or a magic user for that matter. You probably want to give them like a champion fighter or a barbarian and call it a day. So just because it's less complexity and it's going to be easier for them to know what to do. And in a game that can be as complex as D&D, if you have a new player who's overwhelmed with what their character can do, that could lead to a decrease in their amount of fun they're having because they're just overwhelmed by all the stuff about their character. So there's a bunch of things to consider. There's not a pat answer, I think, for that. Oh, brown guy, that is such a great point. We have a vanilla DM that does not want to kill us. It is obvious, and it makes the game less interesting. I'm gonna tell you what, dude. When death is not a possibility, the game is boring. It is. When you know that you're going to win every single time, and you know that the DM doesn't have the cojones to kill us, then it's like, okay, we're just gonna win every time. We're just gonna win every time. La da! Who cares? We're gonna win. Oh no. Oh, we're all down to low hit points. We're making death saving throws. Oh, it's the minions are swarming over us. Oh. But you know what? I guarantee you some NPC is gonna come save us. I guarantee you the monsters are gonna come up with a reason not to kill us and take us captive instead. I guarantee you we're not gonna die because it's happened so many times. You see, you don't feel that sense of, oh crap, holy crap. You're not on the edge of your seat. You're not, a little bit like, woo, what's gonna happen? Because you know what's gonna happen. You know you're not gonna die. You know you're not gonna lose. You know your DM's gonna save your bacon. In my opinion, games like that are boring. I would much rather have, I I probably would not enjoy a dungeon master who's just like wants to kill you every 10 seconds necessarily, but I would much rather have that than a dungeon master who's like babying you, so to speak, because that takes a lot of the enjoyability out of the game. But that's my personal opinion as a player, right? There's some people who don't want that. They don't want to be challenged. There's some people who bust their butts all day at work and just want to come home and roll dice and kill crap and win. And they don't want to have to worry about losing. And that's fair. You know, there's nothing wrong with that necessarily. But my personal stance is like, I want death to be a possibility. It makes the game more interesting for me. All right, I did that one. Any tips for foreshadowing some of the stuff that will be happening? Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. You need to know what's going to happen in the future. And then you need to, before that thing happens, you need to drop a clue or a hint into your game. Like, that's what you do. That's exactly what you do. I don't know what other tip to give you besides plan and then put something in there that hints at it. It doesn't have to be super obvious, but they need to notice it. And then later on, when the thing happens, they'll be like, oh yeah, because that thing over there. It's not brain, it's not like brain surgery. You know, it's not like mad scientist stuff. It's just thinking and using your brain and, oh, I'm gonna do this. Oh, wouldn't it be cool if before that happens, we did this? Ah, okay, let's do that. You just think about it. Use your brain. You think about it. There's no right answer. Okay, I have some super chats. Scott, thank you for the $2 super chat. You convinced me. I got the $15 subscription. Well, thank you, dude. I wasn't really trying to convince anybody. I'm not a very good salesman. I just make resources and tell people about them. And if they find them valuable, they can get them. I'm not trying to like, you know, I'm not a used car salesman. Adam Andrew, thank you, sir, for the $10 super chat. Question is, first time DMing since 2nd edition. Would love to hear your thoughts on a high level character I want to create. Dragonborn, White Frost, Elf, Warlock, Conjurer. Okay. Based on what you wrote right there, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you, dude. It sounds cool, but I don't know anything about it. Don't know where to go with that one. Sorry. Oh my gosh. I failed that super chat. I flunked. Dexter says, as a first time DM running a one shot next week, how do I keep the game flow going on without boring the players or throwing out encounters every 20 minutes? I don't know, you just run the game. How do you keep the game flowing on without boring players? You just run the game. You run a D&D game. So you have to have things planned. You have to plan the adventure out. You have to know what you're doing, right? And then when they're playing the game, like, you should design I don't even know how to answer that. You design a variety of different things in your game. You have social interactions, you have exploration, you have combats, you have a bunch of different things going on in your adventure that are going to appeal to a bunch of different player types. And if the group, the biggest thing that's going to bore players is if they're stuck on a thing for too long. If they're decisioning on something for too long and they spend an hour deciding what to do. Give me a break. It's ridiculous. You got to get them out of that, right? If they're spending like an hour on a puzzle, that could get boring for several of the players. If a boring combat is dragging on for way too long, that's going to be boring to players. So you got to try to, but you could also have I've had combats that lasted 3 hours. It doesn't happen very often, but I've had them happen and they were amazing and everybody was paying attention and we were riveted and we loved it. And I've had combats that have lasted 30 minutes and we've been like, this sucks. This is boring. It just depends, you know, so length doesn't mean anything necessarily. Pay attention to your table. See what their faces are, see what their expressions are. If they're on their phones, if they're paying attention, if they're having side conversations. You have to use your discretion during the game session. Whether if you see they're having fun and they're enjoying something, then let them bask in it. If you can see that people are checking out, well, maybe it's time to move that scene along. Maybe it's time for that encounter to get wrapped up, or for that social interaction to get wrapped up, or for that puzzle to get figured out or something. I don't know. You have to, part of this is just the I don't know, the wisdom, the experience of running the game and being able to read the table and kind of know what the situation warrants. And part of keeping players interested is planning your adventure to begin with, and making sure that your adventure has a wide variety of elements that appeal to different players. And you don't just have only combat or only social interaction, or like one big long shopping session or something. I don't know. So there's a lot of stuff baked into that answer to how you keep players from getting bored. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes into that. Yes, we have a few different cats on the screen. Or, yep, looks like it. Who's that? Mommy! What are you doing, Mommy? Mommy's gonna come over here. Mommy! It's Mommy. This is Mommy 2. This is Mommy 1. This is Mommy 1. And this is Mommy 2 right here. And this is Orange. What's up, Orange? And Squeaky. Orange!
Mommy. It's a mommy cat. Yeah.
The adorable. Munchgum says, when you need to up the difficulty of an encounter, do you tend to add more creatures to the fight, or make the planned creatures tougher, or is it more situational? It depends. Making a planned creature tougher is a whole lot more work than adding more creatures. If you want to increase the difficulty of a creature, you have to customize that creature. And you can just kind of tweak it a little bit and eyeball it. That's a possibility. But if you actually want to customize it and use the rule set to customize it, that's a lot more complicated. So I tend to just add some more creatures, or add a different creature. Like, let's pretend like you're doing hobgoblins. There's lots of different types of hobgoblins. So if I have a group of 4 hobgoblins and it's not hard enough, I might find a hobgoblin. I think there's a hobgoblin captain or a hobgoblin devastator. I think there's a few different types. I might pick a higher level hobgoblin and throw them in that group, and then increase the difficulty that way. But I don't tend to customize, make the creatures tougher quite as much, because that takes more work than just adding more creatures or changing the mix of creatures. By the way, pro tip, when you do want to make a creature tougher, it's worth considering that it is a lot of times better, in my opinion, to increase the damage output and not increase the hit points. Here's why. When you increase both things, damage output and hit points, both equate into the difficulty of a creature. They're two different parts of it. There's the difficulty, the difficulty rating, and then the defensive rating, and then the offensive rating. But when you increase the defensive rating, either armor class or hit points, essentially what you're doing is you're making that creature live longer, which makes the combat take longer. Not always, but many times, long combats with big hit point creatures can kind of be slogs. Not always, but they can definitely be that way if, as a dungeon master, you don't know how to run that and make that interesting for your players. So increasing hit points and armor class makes the combat longer. Usually you want to avoid that. But if you increase the DPS, the damage output of the creature, the combat's not getting any longer, but that creature became more deadlier, and then you have a quicker combat. And the players are going to feel more tension and pressure, because holy crap, that creature is beating the living snot out of us really quickly. Holy crap. And that creates tension and drama and excitement, and then they're going to be scrambling to try to defeat that creature. And that makes it far more interesting than a big sack of hit points that has a high armor class that they can barely hit, and they're just like, all right, keep hitting it, guys. Oh, I got hit. Don't worry, dude. There you go. I'll heal you a little bit. Okay, keep swinging, boys. Keep swinging. Let's kill this guy. Woo, just keep swinging. Those can be boring as crap. They don't have to be, but they can be, and they can easily trend that way. So, pro tip, instead of increasing hit points and armor class, increase damage output when you want to make an enemy tougher. My players seem to always want to leave events or towns as soon as I start them. How do I deal with this? Hey guys, do you want to play the game? Like, you guys want to play the game? So, as the Dungeon Master, I created this event, I created this adventure, I created this town. I created them so that we could play this game. Do you want to play the game? If you don't want to play the game, that's fine. I don't have to go through all this effort to create these things if you don't want to play. We could do something else. I can go find some other players. And there's a beautiful thing about being a Dungeon Master is there's a plethora of players that want to play, and there aren't that many people that want to be a Dungeon Master. So if you don't want to play the game, that's cool. We don't have to. Without more context to your question, I would probably challenge the players to, like, you know, do you want to play the game, guys? Because that's what I'm here to do. If I had a group of players that I'm like, hey guys, here's an adventure and there's a plot hook, and they're like, okay, and they go to it and they're just like, you know what? We're losing interest. We're just gonna go off. Okay. And then, oh man, there's this thing over here happening, and they're just like, you know, we're just not gonna do that. Well, what do you guys want to do? You didn't want to do this adventure. You didn't want to do that. Like, what do you want to do? Like, maybe I'm creating things they aren't interested in, and I need to do a better job. Sure. And then I can get feedback from them to try to make sure that I'm creating adventures and stuff that they find interesting and want to do. Sure, maybe. But they got to meet me halfway too. You know, it can't just be like everything I present to them, they're just like, and they move on, and they move on. At some point, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to find some different players, because these guys don't look like they want to play the game. They have no interest in doing anything. So, yeah. I might. There's a point at which you got to find new players if they don't want to play the game. How do you deal with the fear of running a bad game? I don't care. It happens. It happens. You will run bad games. I run bad games. It will happen. Suck it up, Buttercup. You deal with it. You don't be afraid of that. Dude, if you start being afraid of running bad games, guess what? That anxiety and that fear is going to feed upon itself, and it is a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it will lead to you running more bad games because you're afraid of doing it. So you just got to ignore that crap. Don't worry about it. Accept the fact that bad games will happen and be okay with it. You cannot hit a home run every time. Look at batting averages in the stinking baseball. You know, good batting averages, they still strike out like over half of the time. You know, obviously this is not a perfect metaphor, okay? But as a Dungeon Master, you can't run a great game session every time. Most of your game sessions are going to be okay. They're going to be acceptable, and your players will have fun, but they're not going to be woo, like super successes. Every so often, you're going to have an amazing game session. Most of your game sessions are going to be okay. Some of your game sessions are going to suck. You have to accept that. You have to acknowledge it. It doesn't mean that you're not going to always try to run a fun game and you know, do a great job and stuff. It doesn't mean you're not going to do that, but you got to be okay with that. And you can't let that fear eat you up. How long does it usually take you to prepare a campaign? A campaign? An hour. Doesn't take very long. I can flesh out the concept for a campaign in like an hour. It's not that hard. Now, the adventures, the individual adventures that go into the campaign, an adventure might take me 4 hours to prepare easily. And if I have to make a map for a virtual tabletop, 6 hours or more, which is why I usually like outsource map making these days, because it's just such a big pain in the butt. I hate it. But an adventure can take me 4 hours to make, easy. But it might take us 3 game sessions to go through, right? Yeah, and yeah, campaign concepts aren't that bad, and I do not, you guys, I do not spend too much time fleshing out a campaign concept and planning too much. And that is intentional, because you do not know where things are gonna go. I'm not gonna flesh out a whole bunch of stuff for a campaign. We might get off on that track and things might go somewhere else. And I'm okay with that. And sometimes things go a different direction because I decide I want them to go a different direction. Sometimes things go a different direction because we're doing a character arc with some of the players and there's some really cool stuff going on. And that starts to take more and more of the campaign. And my cool idea of a campaign arc is kind of dying down a little bit, and we're not doing that so much. And you know what? The less time that I spend planning my wonderful, awesome campaign arc, the less I am beholden to it, and the less that I feel that loss aversion. I avoid the loss aversion effect by not putting too much time into it. If you spend weeks and weeks and weeks developing a campaign vision and concept and fleshing out all of this stuff, you know how hard it will be for you to let go of it when your players don't seem too interested in it, or when you get bored of it. It's the loss aversion. It's the sunk cost fallacy, right? Well, it's mostly sunk cost fallacy. You spent so much time creating that campaign concept that you now feel that you have to play it, right? So don't spend a whole lot of time on campaign concepts when it may or may not even come to fruition, and when statistically we know most campaigns fizzle out after a couple months. So don't spend too much time doing that stuff. You are better off spending your time creating adventures, not world building, not world building. Players usually don't care a whole lot about world building. That's for dungeon masters. Players usually care about adventures, doing cool stuff, fighting bad guys, getting loot, leveling up their characters, being able to play their characters. So if you're going to spend your time on something, spend your time on creating adventures, fun adventures full of encounters, combat, social interactions, interesting NPCs, fun things to do, cool loot they can get, and other things like that. Focus your time on that stuff, because that's what's going to make players have the most fun, which is going to guarantee they come back, which means your campaign lasts. If you spend all of your time fleshing out campaign ideas and world building and stuff, but neglect the parts of the game that players actually care about, then it's like you're almost setting yourself up for failure, and your players are not going to care about the game because you're not spending the time on the things that they like to engage with the most, you know, and it's then not as fulfilling to them, and they might just leave, you know. So you need to do the things of the dungeon master that you find fun, but you also can't neglect the aspects of the game that players enjoy the most either. There needs to be a balance there so that you're having fun and you're also, you know, doing the things that's going to help your players to have fun as well, because everybody's got to have fun, otherwise it doesn't work, right? What's my favorite book? Mommy, what are you doing?
Mommy, stop it.
Mommy is like messing around with my cords on my computer, and that's a bad idea.
It's a bad idea, Mommy.
Stop it. Go play with your banana. I don't know what her deal is. Favorite book. Mommy, stop. I like Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series. I was very, 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 very happy when Brandon Sanderson took it over because he did a way better job than Robert Jordan was doing. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. R.R. Martin's books, his Song of Ice and Fire books are very, very good. You will probably know that as the Wheel of Time, not the Wheel of Time, Game of Thrones. But R.R. Martin's books are amazing, very, very good. And those are some good ones. Those are some of my favorite books. Like if you're talking about fantasy books, those are really good. I've read some other ones too, obviously. But those are the ones that stand out the most to me, I feel. Terry Goodkind. I have read Terry Goodkind. Terry Goodkind. I read his almost the entire series of his, The Wizard's First Rule. And you know what really upsets me about how he wrote his protagonist? His protagonist is this super powerful wizard. Ah! Super, super powerful. Ah! But he had the Superman problem. He was dealing, because he made such a super powerful wizard, he was dealing with the Superman problem. In that Superman is so powerful that nobody can challenge him. And so you have to have a gimmick. You need to have a gimmick. And Superman's gimmick is kryptonite. And it's amazing how easy it is to find kryptonite. Lex Luthor found kryptonite growing under the trees. It's just like, oh, there's some more kryptonite. Which is why most of the Superman movies are, not the recent ones, but the old school Superman movies were so stupid. But anyway, he had the Superman problems. You have to have a gimmick to weaken Superman. So Terry Goodkind's gimmick for his protagonist, if I'm remembering these books properly, is basically the wizard, the protagonist, could only use his magic in a time of great need. So he'd go through most of the book not using his magic at all, just kind of like toughing it out, doing his best. And then usually at some point in the time of great need, his magic would come in and then clean everything up. I remember that happening a few times and I'm just like, come on, dude. That is the stupidest gimmick. Like if you had to pick a gimmick, why that gimmick? I just didn't like it. So that's my criticism of Terry Goodkind. It was a stupid gimmick. But there was one of his books. One of his books was amazing. I can't remember the name of it. It was in that series. It was when the protagonist went down to the southern area that was basically kind of like a, I think they were trying to like pattern it after a communist state or something. And then he went down in there and he basically helped to overthrow it. I can't remember the name of that book, but that book in particular was amazing. I loved that book. But there was very little wizardry stuff going on. Someone put the Superman problem into words. Yeah, that's why the Superman movies all suck. You have to have like, you have to either take away Superman's powers and then what's the point of a Superman movie? Or you have to have a villain who like eats worlds. Or is other people from Krypton. That's why Batman is so good. That's why Batman is so good, because and other superheroes who aren't super powerful or who have fallacies or problems and stuff, because Batman, he's awesome, he can do cool stuff and stuff, but he's human and he can get beat up and he can have problems and he can have whatever, you know what I mean? So it's much more cool to have a Batman than to have a Superman. Superman's a really bad hero concept. It's just, it sucks. You know, it's really, where do you go with Superman? You know, I don't know. There's only one cat on the cat cam right now. Orange. He's like right in the middle. He's like, I'm all sitting here. Hello. What do you do when it gets to a player's turn and they have no idea what they're going to do? It takes forever to decide what to do. I give them a few seconds, and when they're just like, I tell them I'm gonna need an answer, and then they get skipped, and I go to the next player. They can take the dodge action, but I skip them. You use, hey, you know those 15 minutes when it wasn't your turn and everybody else was taking their turn? You know those 15 minutes? Well, those 15 minutes were an opportunity for you, sir, to think about what you want to do on your turn, so that when it's your turn, everybody else at the game table isn't sitting there waiting for you to make up your mind because you were in La La Land for 15 minutes and couldn't figure out what you wanted to do. So guess what? When it's your turn and 15 minutes wasn't enough time for you to think about what you wanted to do, we're just gonna skip you and we're gonna go to the next person. How's that sound? And you know what? The player's not gonna like it. I had to do this. I've only had to do this a couple times in my games. And I'll tell you what, I had a player once who had this problem. He got skipped once. He did not like it. He got skipped a second time. He did not like it. And guess what? He never got skipped again because he learned and he had an answer about what he was gonna do. So it worked. He wasn't happy, but it's like, dude, do not disrespect everybody else at the game table by holding up the entire game because you can't make your mind. Like, you're dragging down the entire game because of your indecision, dude. So yeah, you need to make up your mind when everybody else is taking their turns. It's not hard. Well, for some people it's hard, but you need to grow and you need to learn. Let's just say it that way. What do you consider to be a gold heavy campaign, gold light campaign in your own games? How much gold do you expect your party to have at each tier in your campaigns? If you basically just roll on the tables in the Dungeon Master Guide and follow the guidelines that are presented in the Dungeon Master Guide, your party from levels 1 to 5 will be broke and not have very much at all. Around level 5, these are all rough. They're going to start getting some gold piled. By the time they get to level 10, money will never be an issue ever again. They'll be throwing around, buying whatever they want. It's not a problem. So the typical tables are kind of like gold light, starvation, and then gold heavy, more gold than you'll ever need if you just roll off the tables in Dungeon Master Guide. So I don't know what would I consider. I feel like probably if you wanted to run a gold heavy campaign at the early levels, you need to like double the amount of gold you give your players, or triple it even. And then at the later levels, leave it as it is. If you want to run a gold light, don't change the early levels, and then the later levels you cut things probably in half at least, if not more, if you want to run a gold light campaign. Oh man. How do I turn my gamer mind into more roleplay mind? You have to think about what my character would do. So what would my character do? What would my character do? I'm playing a wizard, you know, and this is my backstory. Create a backstory first of all. I have, by the way, over on DriveThruRPG, I have my backstory template. It's called RPG Backstory Template over on DriveThruRPG. I'm sure we can get a link in the chat. It's free. You can get it for free, and it'll help you create a backstory. So if you want to be role-playing more, create a backstory. And then when you're playing the game, instead of looking at your stats and your character sheet, think about your backstory. Think about your character traits, your personality, your flaws, your bonds, your ideals. Think about those things. And then try to say, hey, based upon backstory and those personality traits, what would my character do? What would my character do in this situation? And then you try to role play. When you're only looking at your spells and your fireballs and your swords and your armor class and your ability scores, you're going to think in game mechanic terms. So if you want to think more about role play, look at your backstory and your personality traits. and think in terms of those if you want to push yourself more towards role-playing that. That said, your spells and your swords and your armor class, those are also part of your character. And so when you're doing those things, that's still role-playing. When you're in combat, you're role-playing. When you're sneaking around a dungeon and looking for secret doors and avoiding traps, that's role-playing. When you're doing talky bits in social interactions, that's role-playing. All of those things are role-playing. But if you want to get deeper into like, what would my character do sort of role-playing, then do what I suggested to you. But the whole game is role-playing. Have done any interesting handouts, props for online games besides a digital scroll? Not really. That's my answer. Is it okay to sometimes add a non-existent question to the initiative order and randomly rolling dice to up the tension? Sure. I don't see why that's a problem. I'm a very new dungeon master running some homebrew. How do you go about creating interesting combat maps? My party likes very tactical fighting, and I don't think my big, small, square rooms enhance it. So this is what you do. You do a Google search. You go to Google, and you type in D&D maps, castle map, dungeon map, etc. And you do a Google search, and you find maps that have terrain on them, that have elevations on them, that have objects in the rooms, that have different shaped rooms and tunnels and corridors, that if it's underground, there's a crevasse, there's a stream flowing through there, there's stalagmites, stalactites, there's different things in there that players can interact with. You find maps that people have already made, and you can either just steal them and use them, or you can use that as inspiration to create your own maps. But creativity many times doesn't work very well in a void. And so if you look at other things that other people have done, that'll spark your own imagination, and you can help make those maps and stuff. But you want a variety of different things. Like I said, terrain, elevations, different sizes, different sorts of things like that. And going online, doing a search and finding examples is probably the best way to trend more toward that way. You need more coffee? It is getting pretty low. It's getting pretty low. Yeah. And now it's gone. My group is moving to in-person this weekend. I cannot tell you how much I miss running my Curse of Strahd game in person. Hey! I don't know what that was. Two cats are fighting. One of them was just made a noise like I got my butt kicked noise. I miss running with my Curse of Strahd players in person. I miss it a lot. I can't wait to be able to go back to in person. So yippee wee. Glad to hear you're going back to in person. Any tips for in person? Materials, sound effects, etc. You're running D&D. Like, so you've only run online and you've never run in person? In person's so much better, dude. You're gonna run the same game, dude. You're still running a D&D game, only you're gonna need like probably a battle map and dry erase markers to write things on, and maybe minis or something to represent minis if you want to do that. But you're not really doing anything different, dude. You're just playing in person. The game is the same game. It's the same game. There's really not a big difference, but I don't know. In person, the camaraderie seems more tangible. It's more relaxing. It's more fun. You don't got to deal with stupid battle maps in Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds. Oh my gosh. And dynamic lighting and getting that crap set up. Oh gosh. Just being able to draw it out. Oh, it's so nice. Unless you buy a module in like Roll20, and then they do all the work for you, and it's worth the money. But if you got to do it yourself, oh, it's so horrible.
Mommy, you stop it.
You guys want to do a cat strike? All right, let's do a cat strike. This is the cat strike right here. They're swarming.
Little girl.
I'm gonna get some more coffee. I'll be back. My wife just gave me a bowl of popcorn from like yesterday. I'm like, I can't eat this right now. I'm streaming. She's like, here, have some popcorn. It doesn't help me. That's orange, right? Yeah. You can't get his tail in the box though. Orange. What are you doing? Ooh. Oh, look at that. Put the cats on the screen. A bunch of people subscribe. It's amazing. What do I do when a PC dies? Like, what should I do with the player at the table? Are they excluded from the rest of the session? How to handle PC death in D&D? Well, yeah. You kick them out. You tell them to pack up their crap and go home. They shouldn't have died. Like, they have no business coming to your game table and then dying midway through the adventure. Just everybody stops what you're doing. You stare at them, have them pack up their crap and get the heck out of there. They have no business having their PC die in the middle of the game session. No business at all. It's not what you do. Some people were like, holy crap, unsubscribe, this guy sucks. They roll up a new character. So here's what happens. So if they're so low a level that they're probably not going to be able to be resurrected, then they'll probably just roll up a new character. Have them literally, they can start rolling up their new character right there at the game table. And then as soon as they have their new character ready, you pull them into the game right away. Get them back into the game. Get them running that game, getting them playing. The next room the party goes into in the dungeon, their character is there. Make up a reason for their character to be there. Do not wait 2 hours to introduce their new character to the game. As soon as they have a new character rolled up, get them back into the game. Get them playing. Other options. If they're probably going to take the body back to town and like raise them from the dead or something, well, that sucks because it might take a couple hours. They might literally sit there with nothing to do for 2 hours. That sucks. So if there happens to be an NPC with the party or an intern, they could run the intern. You might be creative. You might have them roll up a new character that they can find later on in the dungeon and keep on playing with them. And then when they manage to get the dead character's body back to town and raise them from the dead, then the character they rolled up could just leave the group and be a backup character. And then they keep on playing their normal character. My point is this: do what you can to get the player back into the game as soon as possible. You don't want the player to sit there for 2 hours or more doing nothing, because that's boring as crap. Think of a way, figure out a way, how can I get them back into the game as quickly as possible? How can I get them playing this game and not just sitting there, because that's not fun. So I just mentioned several ways you can do it. There are probably other ways as well, but you definitely want to get them back in the action. There you go. Oh no! What was this? Bye-bye now. Thank you for flying magic carpet. Oh, holy crap. You couldn't play for 2 sessions? Dude, Cashton, I could totally rant about morons who don't figure out a way to get their players back into the game. You're sitting there for 2 sessions. So you're gonna sit there for 2 game sessions and do nothing. What kind of a dungeon master is like, sorry, your character died. Now you're just gonna have to sit there for a while until something happens, and it's gonna be a couple game sessions. Sorry, but you know what? That's game. That's the game. That's life. That's so unsatisfying. Like, I feel like a dungeon master needs to do what they can to get the player back into the game. Whatever they got to do, just make it happen. People are there to have fun, dude, and play the game, not sit there because, oh, well, that's the story. It's not appropriate for the story. You know, it's, yeah, sorry guys, there's a story going on, and it's not actually realistic for a new character to come in at this point, and you know, so you're gonna have to just wait and just sit there and be patient, you know, because the story, it's important. Yeah, it's your fun and your enjoyment as a player. That's not really what's important here at this game table. That you're bored out of your mind, I just don't care. Yeah, the story and all this we need to make sure that this is the game. So sorry, you're just gonna have to cowboy up and just sit there and be happy about it. Sorry. Dudes like that need to get punched in the face or something. I mean, that's just not. It's not considerate. Dude, I would probably leave a game like that. You know what? Let's pretend I was enjoying the game and everything, and that happened. The dungeon master told me that. I would just be like, okay, you know what? This is what I'm gonna do. I am not going to come to the next few game sessions. When you are ready to have me play again, you let me know. You call me, you give me a call, and I'll come back and I'll play. That's if I was enjoying the game. But if it was kind of like a so-so game and a dungeon master pulled that kind of crap on me, dude, I'm out. I'm like, I'm gone, man. I'm gonna start up my own game. And I'm not gonna do that to my players. Wow. So bad. Oh, I did that one. Sweet. How do I stop the PCs from stealing things from NPCs? Why would you want to stop them? What you need to do is have consequences in your game world. Why do people in the real world not go around stealing crap all the time? Because they get caught? Because they go to jail? Because bad things happen to them? So, if your PCs, if your players are wandering around town stealing from everybody, threatening people, etc., 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 grow some and make there be consequences. There are guards, there are soldiers for a reason. They keep the peace. They find stealer people. They put them in jail. And if your players are like level 12 and they're super powerful, then the soldiers in town are smart enough to know, oh, you know what? We should probably go hire another adventuring party to come in and take care of these people who are messing with us. So there are lots of things you can do to deal with that, but they all boil down to consequences. Run your game world like as much as possible like an actual world where actions have consequences. And then players are gonna think twice about stealing from every random NPC they come across because, oh crap, this guy just got nabbed and he's in jail. And oh, whoops, he got his hands chopped off or something. You know, so consequences are the way to deal with that. Run a game world that has consequences for stupid crap like that. And then your players are gonna be like, oh, I guess we can't just do that. But if you don't want to have consequences, then you can't really stop them unless you just say, stealing is outlawed. It's no longer allowed. Even if you declare you're doing it, you can't do it. I mean, you could do that, but that's not very satisfying. I'd rather run a game with consequences where players have the freedom to steal from NPCs if they want to, but they dare not do it. Rocks fall on them TPK. Hey Matt, what's up, dude? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Matty Thing in chat was one of my players once, and he dungeon mastered for us too, and he was really good. That was awesome, dude. I hope everything's going well for you, man. Oh. How much detail should I use when introducing a key character? The same amount of detail you use when you introduce any other character in your game. Which is minimum amount of detail. Do not give the players an information dump. Players probably don't want to, their eyes are going to roll back on their head as you're like reading off this elaborate description of this character and stuff, you know, and then when you're done, they're just like, wait, what was his name again? It's like, give the same amount of information as you would for any other character. If he's an important character, that should be revealed through gameplay and the role that character plays in the adventure or in the game world or something. And then if you have a bunch of other detail about him, that could, the players could learn about that through the course of gameplay, but don't give big information dumps. Nobody wants a big information dump. Reveal things as they're appropriate, as it becomes important to the game. But big information dumps are usually going to get forgotten and they're going to be boring and nobody's going to appreciate them. So I wouldn't do that. And it gives away the fact that this person's important. You don't want your players to know off the bat that somebody's important. You know, let them find that out on their own. It's like, oh, wow, this kobold, he's the boss around here. I would have never thought this kobold was running the entire criminal organization. Holy crap. But if you up front give them all this shenaz and stuff, they're gonna be like, what's going on here? Metagaming, obviously. So yeah, I would introduce them the exact same way. I wouldn't do anything special for them. How often do you take breaks? I don't know. I usually, in a 4 or 5 hour game session, we might have one break, one official break in the middle of it, roughly. But people can go use the bathroom whenever they want. But I don't take a lot of breaks in my games. We're playing the game. What do you need to take a break for? What, you gotta use the bathroom? Okay, go run to the bathroom real quick, dude. Good gravy. We're gonna keep playing. When you get back, you just jump in. You gotta take a phone call? All right, go do that, man. You gotta like smoke or something? I'm not stopping my game because you have an addiction, dude. You take care of that, that's fine, but we're gonna keep on playing. You know, it's like, I don't take a whole lot of breaks. If we're there to play, we play. Usually it's one break, one official break for like 5 minutes or something, you know. There might be situations where the pizza arrives. If the pizza arrives, you gotta take a break. All right, I mean, what are you gonna do? It's the pizza. You gotta go get the pizza and eat it, you know. That's the exception. So scheduled break, but if pizza arrives, you are allowed to take another break. Yeah, Goliath Cleric's he's in my patron game. He doesn't want to take a break. I chopped your arm off, dude. You lost your arm. He's like, I like these games. I lost an arm already. Was that your first game session? I think that was your first game session with me, and you lost an arm. Oh. I'm gonna put that here. Hold on a second. What do you do to keep track of what is going on in your game so you don't forget what has been done and by what player? Game journal or just review a recording perhaps? Yeah, so I will show you really quick what I do. I keep extensive, roughly, notes in OneNote. I'm going to show you my screen right now. By the way, this is for my Curse of Strahd game. If any of my Curse of Strahd players are here, you should not look at this. So basically, after, let me zoom in a little bit, make sure you guys can all see this as much as possible. So basically, after each game session, so I have game session start notes. This is what happened in the last game session. And then when the game session is over, I take a bunch of notes as well. And I have entries, I have journal entries with all of this same information for all of our play dates. So this is part of my prep, and it is part of when I'm done with the game, I take some notes. Time, date, what they were doing. I have a summary of what happened during the game session so that I remember what was happening. And I can go back and look in time if I want to. I do this for all of my games. And I have this, and then I have plot points. These are things that I'm kind of planning on hitting, you know, that probably will happen. I can't always anticipate this because, for instance, this right here, I don't think my players are going to do this. So that's probably not going to happen. I was planning it. I thought it would happen, but something different ended up happening in the game, and that's life. And I keep track of the plot hooks that I've given them. They have a whole bunch of different adventure hooks that they have. Now, if you go to something like my Ancient Dragon campaign, so Goliath Cleric, close your eyes. If you go to this, one of the other things that I keep track of is I don't do this quite so much for Curse of Strahd because it's a module, and this stuff is mostly already planned out, or because of the module. But for something like my Ancient Dragon campaign, which is a homebrew game, I have future plot points. All of these things, you guys, this big list right here, this big list is all stuff that I'm keeping in my back pocket to come back to haunt the players. Basically, they did certain things in the game world that will have consequences in the future. And this is my list of different things that I could develop into an adventure or come back to have something happen in the game world. And this is all based upon my players' decisions and actions. And so this makes your game world feel like a living actual world. But if I don't make these notes, I'm gonna forget that they did X, Y, and Z, and I'm gonna forget that I could do this and have a consequence in the game. So I also keep track of these future plot points. Not all of these will get used. In fact, 80% of these will probably never get used, but I have them and I use the interesting ones. And those are like some of my basic notes. I mean, but that's not like, I also plan out the adventures. I have campaign planning that I do as well. And I have some different stuff, some different things I do for campaign planning. Obviously these are not my adventure notes. I have pretty, legitimate, extensive notes for each adventure. I put those in Word documents, and those could span 5 to 10 or more pages of notes as well. What was the question? How do I keep track of what's going on in my games? There you go. So I think I answered the question. When you run a D&D game, are you allowing all the books to be used? I mean, races, subclasses, mechanics and stuff. No, I basically allow, the core books are fine, right? You want to use stuff from the player handbook. Okay, great. That's spectacular. If you want to use things from any of the other books, the Xanathar's, Tasha's especially, or Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, if you want to use stuff from the other books, you need to get them approved by me first. I need to review them and make sure that they're not super overpowered. Xanathar's, most of the stuff in Xanathar's is pretty fine. And Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, haven't had a problem. Eberron, the Artificer and stuff, haven't had a problem in there. Tasha's has some real gems that are way overpowered. Oh, Xanathar's had one too. So there are some options in there that are messed up, overpowered. So I want to make sure I can review those and make sure that there's not an issue with them. I would say 90% of the things are fine. I don't have an issue with it, but I want to review them first because it is the nature of splat books that there's power creep. There's always power creep. It always happens. And we're seeing it, especially I feel like in Tasha's. Power creep is real. And so I want to make sure that there aren't things that are going to drastically unbalance the game and cause issues for me as a dungeon master running the game, but also for the players, because it's not quite fair when somebody waltzes in and is just overpowered maniac and all the rest of the players because of a new option in Tasha's or something that is just ridiculous. So I want to make sure I keep an eye on those things. I review, but if there are no concerns, then I allow them to be used. Is my general approach on that. If I have new players, should I nudge them in the right direction for the first few sessions? Yes, absolutely. New players they're clueless, dude. They're like, wee! I don't know. I'm gonna climb trees. We can climb trees. Let's go climb some trees. I want to find a slug. I want to go dig for slugs under the fallen trees, and I want to make them my pet. Yeah, we're gonna climb trees and we're gonna find pet slugs. You gotta push them in the right direction sometimes. It's a new game. They don't necessarily know that was a plot hook. When the two children came and said that their father had been kidnapped by goblins, they don't understand that is a plot hook. And the idea is that you would go and help, right? You have to nudge them. You have to teach them the game. It's the same way in Monopoly. I'm teaching my wife to play Monopoly. Like, hello, you want to buy properties. You want to get 3 of a color group. You want to buy houses. This is how the game works. You teach them. You got to let them know how the game works. So yes, perfectly acceptable. Which is why it's great when you have new players to have a couple veterans who can do some of that nudging for you, because they know that was a plot hook. They know how the game works. They know that you can't just climb trees and find pet slugs all day long. What part do you enjoy the most about a game from the DMing side? I enjoy preparing the game, creating the adventures. That is fun for me. When I am not under time pressure and I'm not stressed out because I have too much to do, when I can just take some time and relax and prepare the game and create an adventure, find some cool monsters, put a dungeon together, put cool things in the rooms and stuff like that, that is fun. That is enjoyable. I enjoy doing that. And then take that to the game table and you see what happens. What do your players do? How do they interact with that content? How do they overcome that dungeon, that situation? And seeing that is lots of fun. So fun preparing it, and then fun seeing what the players do, you know, and seeing them have fun. That's cool too. It's very, very cool to run a game, and it's like you run a game and for 4 hours you played a huge part in helping a group of people enjoy themselves, have fun, unwind after a week at a job they hate, or after whatever, dealing with this domestic thing that's going on, or helping them to forget about this, I don't know, this thing they're dealing with in their lives. You know, you are a huge part of helping them forget about those things, escape a little bit, you know, have some fun, enjoy, relax, unwind, you know, and knowing that you can help people that way is very, very cool, you know. So there's some stuff right there that I enjoy about it. Why do some people have gears next to their names? I think those are wrenches, and those are the moderators. We have moderators here, right? Are you guys swinging wrenches? No moderators. They've deserted me. What's up, Penguin Butt? I'm a new DM. How exactly do you track time? With a pencil and a piece of paper. And if I'm playing online, I'll type it into the chat too, so the players can all see the time. You estimate it, dude. You estimate it. Oh, about 50 minutes has passed. There you go. Boom, you're done. Oh, about a half an hour. Maybe an hour has gone by. You just estimate it, dude. It's not perfect. It's an estimate. It's an estimate. And if players give you lip about it, give them lip back. I don't know what to tell you. I have never had my players question my tracking of time. Sometimes, for something like a Speak with Dead spell, I think lasts about 10 minutes. I literally have hourglasses with sand in them that I will take out. I have a 30-second one, a 1 minute, a 2 minute, 5 minute, and a 10 minute. And I will just take them out. And if it's something like a Speak Undead spell, I flip it over and I time them. Because for situations like that, they're like, they ask one question, they get an answer. And then the whole table is like, okay, what are we gonna ask them next? And they talk and they deliberate and stuff. Well, it's important to have that time ticking down and they can see it. And it adds pressure to that situation. So that's when it matters, you can do that. But for the most part, you estimate it and then call it a day. Estimate. Luke really likes that word. I do like that word. The whole game is estimating. It's like, it's a dungeon master. That's what you're doing. You're just like, that sounds about right. We're just gonna go with that. Any advice for running a multi-day travel session from one city to another? I'm running one across a large desert with a single road. Something besides just plain old bandits. So here's the thing. Every player who plays the game knows that between point A and point B, so we're at point A, point B is where we got to get to. Point B is where the exciting stuff happens. Point B is where the adventure takes place. Everything that happens in between is a big fat old waste of time usually. That's not where the adventure is. You know, that's not where we're not going to get a milestone from random encounters. Every random encounter along the way isn't really helping us accomplish our objective, you know. So what I typically tend to do is if they're traveling from point A to point B, there will be one interesting thing that happens along the way. I might roll on random tables. I might prepare it in advance. It doesn't have to be a fight. It could be a cool encounter. They might come across. I once had, my players were traveling from point A to point B, and I had them come across a tower, the ruins of an old tower. And they were like, huh, what's that? Now they could have just kept on walking and nothing would have happened. They decided to investigate that tower. And it turned out that tower was a tower that was literally every day at dawn, it disappeared and reappeared at a different location in the world and in a different time period. So it changed locations and it time traveled. And they found this tower and they poked around and they discovered this, and it was a very, very cool thing for them to come across. There was no fight, there was no encounter. They ended up finding a magical book though as part of that tower encounter or whatever. And that was just a cool lore thing they came across. And my players, this was my Curse of Strahd group, it was before Curse of Strahd, most of them were like, wow, that's really cool. We liked that. And then they kept on traveling. So it doesn't have to be an encounter. It could just be a cool thing you put there for them to come across. It could be something that has to do with your world or the lore of your world. And that's how you kind of put it in front of your players and make it a cool thing for them. So my advice is when you're traveling, it doesn't matter how many days it takes. When you're traveling, have there be one cool thing or one interesting thing that happens. And then they arrive at their destination, because that everybody knows that's where the actual adventure takes place. So let's have a cool thing. Okay, cool. And now let's get on with stuff, you know? So that's my advice for that sort of thing. I would definitely not drag things out and have tons of random encounters. I once was in a game with, this was a miserable game. There were so many things that were miserable about this game. We were traveling from point A to point B, and I crap you not, this dungeon master was describing the landscape. He was describing the terrain and the road and the gravel and the types of trees off to the side and the mountains in the distance. And oh, now it turned into a swamp and there's this going on and that going on and you're traveling and da-da-da-da, 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 da-da-da-da. Oh, and then there's a river you have to cross. And we spent an hour role-playing how we crossed the river. The druid turned into a turtle and he ferried us across. I crap you not. It took an hour for us to role play crossing the river. And then we're traveling and then we're traveling. I don't know. It was like 2 hours to get from here to here. And we were going after a dragon. We were going to fight a dragon. And instead of fighting a dragon, we were stuck over here in, like, I don't know what it was. It was basically a cutscene. And then we had to role play crossing a river for an hour. And I was the whole time the druid could only carry like 2 players or 2 characters on his back while he was crossing the river at a time. And the whole time I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be awesome. We're going to have some people on this side of the river, some people on this side of the river. The druid's going to be in the middle of taking some other people across, and then we're going to get attacked. And it's going to be this awesome encounter because we're going to be split up It's gonna be all weird, and oh, I was thinking this is gonna be so much fun. This is like an awesome encounter design. Wow, this is gonna be so cool. No, we're simply crossing the river. That dungeon master sucked. I'm like, yeah, I gotta get out of here. Ah! I don't know. Maybe there are some people who like that, and you're just like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. Great, that's your cup of tea. That's not my cup of tea. That sort of game clearly did not appeal to me. It might to some people, not this person. If he was a writer, then he should be writing a book, not torturing his players with his narration. We want to play a game. We signed up for a game, not to listen to you read us a book. So, there we go.
So, moderators, somebody put a note in here about Overland Travel Rant, but the timestamp is totally wrong. We're at 2 hours and 17 minutes right now, and the timestamp you put is like 1 hour and 37 minutes. So I don't know where you're getting that from. I'm just letting you know that the timestamps are wrong. But anyway, I appreciate the note. Magic missile the river. How heavy-handed are your mystery hints? Sometimes my PCs seem kind of thick, other times they get it very quickly. I don't run mystery very much. I don't run mysteries. Though that sort of game does not really appeal to me. I run heroic adventure, swords and sorcery, high adventure games. I don't run mystery stuff. Are there little tiny mysteries or secrets and stuff in my games? Sure, but that's not the focus of the game. It's just something that happens in passing. So, yeah. What are you gonna do? Sometimes people, that's the nature of things. Sometimes people are gonna pick things up quickly. Sometimes it's gonna take them a while. You can't anticipate that, necessarily. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. So I don't know. I don't have specific advice for you, except that sometimes your players are gonna get it quickly, sometimes they won't, and you can't anticipate that. Sometimes the dice are gonna roll well, sometimes they're gonna roll poorly. You can't anticipate that. You just do your best you can. What is the worst part of naval combat in D&D? The fact that you're not doing a location-based adventure. You're essentially just traveling. It's traveling. Yeah. There's only so many ways you can have naval combat, so many different types of pirates that can attack you. There's only so many different types of sea creatures that can come out and attack your ship. Like, that's gonna get old fast, It's like naval stuff when you're in a ship, you're traveling from point A to point B. The true adventure probably should not happen in the ship. Like, there's only so many ways you can reskin that before your players are like, oh, we're being attacked from sea creatures again. It was Sawagan at first, and then it was Kuatoa, and merfolk now. Well, that's weird. They're usually pretty good. Oh crap, now it's a kraken. Oh geez. Or it's, there's a ship coming. Okay, here we go. They're gonna attack us.
What are they going to be? Oh, this is trolls. Trolls were on the ship this time. Well, the first time it was just like normal pirates, but now we have trolls attacking us. Oh, okay. Oh, this time they have a ballista. Oh, crap. They have a ballista. Like, there's only so many ways you can reskin that. You know, there has to be a location there. There has to be a sunken ship. There has to be an island you come across that has a dungeon or some interesting stuff on it. You need locations to spice that up. Otherwise, you're just traveling. And there's only so many random encounters and traveling things you can do. I don't know. That just seems... Maybe there's a way you can run that and have it be like super amazing. Ugh. It sounds like, you know, of all the people that try that, like very few will succeed. You're better off having a location-based adventure somewhere in there. And the naval travel, the naval part of it is just you're getting from point A to point B. You're getting to the interesting location. What is your method of creating small points of interest? I think about it. I don't know. You could use Rory's story cubes, roll some cubes and see what they say. But it's mostly just thinking and using your imagination and being creative. That's really all it is. You just think about something. There's no method to it besides sitting there and thinking. Maybe find some random tables if that helps you. Use Rory's story cubes if that helps you spark your creativity. Sometimes I do Google searches if I'm stuck on something, I need some inspiration, you know? So, yeah, but it's mostly just thinking and just trying to figure something that sounds cool. How do you make interesting encounters for a level 1 party without TPKing them? Something being interesting and something being challenging and possibly TPKing them has nothing to do with each other. Nothing whatsoever to do with each other. Zero. How interesting an adventure is has zero to do with how challenging it is. I can write an adventure and encounters that are extremely challenging and are boring as dirt, or rocks, or nails, or whatever. So it doesn't matter how, and I could make an encounter or an adventure that is super easy, but very, very fun and very, very interesting. I just ran a one-shot the other day, Bertrude's Bazaar of Wonders, and it was not super challenging. The whole idea of the one-shot was not for it to be super challenging. The Bazaar of Wonders was designed to be interesting and to be a fun, cool place for the players to go and talk to people and explore and figure out how they're going to accomplish their objective without fighting. So it wasn't challenging from a stat block perspective. It might have been challenging from a, hello, I need to use my brain and solve this problem perspective. So those two don't have any relation to each other. Being an interesting adventure and being a challenging adventure. So I challenge the premise of the question. And it's gone. Which is better, 3.5 or 5e? I asked this before when you were doing the campaign creation live stream, and I wanted to know your modern opinion, so now my comment is getting so long. Yeah. Thanks, Amy. In my personal opinion, I liked both of them. There were things I liked about 3.5, and there are things I like about 5th edition. I think both are great systems. The problem with 3.5, and this is the problem that happens with every single game, is the longer it exists and the more splat books the company makes, the more broken it becomes. And so 3.5, eventually there were combinations and stuff that made it totally broken. And the same thing will happen with 5th edition as well. It's already happening with 5th edition. So there are definitely there are strengths of each system. There are things I like about 3.5, and there are things I like about 5th edition. 5th edition is more simple. There's more gray areas for the dungeon master to make rulings. 3.5 tried to spell everything out in more detail. So yeah, if you had to make me pick one, I would probably pick 5th edition only because it's the one I run right now, and I'm most familiar with it, you know. But if you took all of my 5th edition books and you burned them and you said, Luke, you're running 3.5 or running Pathfinder, which is the exact same thing, I would be okay, fine, I can do that, not a big deal, you know. If it's clumsy moving players from one campaign setting to another, Toril to Abir, is it better to make up a weird setting excuse or really try to convince them to make a new background? I'm not sure I understand that question. I feel like you have 2 ways to move from one setting to another setting. One, you have players who are in the original setting who somehow end up in the new setting, and they're going to have backgrounds and attachments from their old world, and they somehow ended up in the new world. You could do that, but there's a problem with that. There's a big, huge, massive problem with that. There is a strong possibility that whatever you were planning on doing in that new world, your players and their characters will be fixated on getting back home. So whatever you thought your campaign was going to be in this new world might not matter anymore, because your characters, your players, all they care about now is getting back home, and they're going to try to get back home, get back home, get back home, get back home. I had a game concept once where the characters they were in their own home world, and there was this rift, this thing happened that caused them to come into a different world, and they didn't really care about anything that was happening in that world. All they wanted to do was get back home. And the only thing that motivated them was, here's some MacGuffin, some quest you need to do so that we'll help you get back home. But all they wanted to do was go home. And so it just felt like, what's the point? What's the point of even running this campaign, because all you care about is going back home? So there is a big problem with that. If I wanted to stop running in Forgotten Realms, let's say, and start running in Eberron, I feel like the cleanest way to do it would be to end the campaign in Forgotten Realms and then tell my players, hey guys, I would like to run an Eberron campaign. And to do that, I'd like you guys to all create new characters that are in Eberron, that are from Eberron. That way we can actually run an Eberron campaign and not run a campaign where everybody is trying to get back home. It's going to be much cleaner, much better chance of you actually being able to run the game you have in mind of running. So there's my advice on that, dude. I'm trying to run Tome. I always get the pronunciation of those 2 words confused. I have to think about it. I'm trying to run Tome of Annihilation. No, Tomb. I did it again. I'm trying to run Tomb of Annihilation. I am educated. And my players do everything but the story and quests. Is there a way to gently push them back? No. This is what you do. Guys, we had all agreed that we were going to run Tomb of Annihilation. We talked about this. I approached you guys and was like, hey guys, what would you think if we run Tomb of Annihilation? Oh yeah, that was great. You guys all told me you wanted to run Tomb of Annihilation. You told me you wanted to run it. And now I'm trying to run this module for you, and you guys don't want to do any of the adventures in it. You guys always don't want to do it. You guys will always want to go do something else. You want to do anything but the adventures in the module. Like, we talked about this. I thought that we were going to run the module, and yet you guys never want to go on the adventures. So what's going on? Do you guys not want to run the module? Like, should I just go back to Homebrew or something? Do you want to go play Monopoly or Risk or something? Like, what's going on here? Like, I thought we had an agreement, and now you guys don't want. So here's the solution. The solution is not to come up with in-character things to try to push them back. The solution is to simply talk Dungeon Master to players, level with them, and what's up, guys? Like, do you want to run the module or not? We don't have to. If you guys hate it, if you think it's stupid, then maybe we run a different module, or we do Homebrew, or we go play Axis and Allies. I don't know, but but you're frustrated as a Dungeon Master, so talk with your players, figure it out, see what's going on. Otherwise, the best way to deal with that is to level with them and just have a conversation and talk about it, try to come to an understanding, and hopefully there will be some resolution, whether your players are like, oh yeah, good point, sorry, we probably should try to run the module because you're right, we agreed to do it, and we want to, we're kind of, I don't know, whatever. Or you might decide to do something else, I don't know, but the solution is to have a blunt conversation, put it on the table, and see what's going on. Can we get a close-up of your mug? Which mug? My face or my mug? Okay. There you go. Isn't it beautiful? Look at that. Look at that. Oh yes, it's so beautiful. Whee! Ah! Get coffee! In just a few minutes. With Ravenloft announced as the first of the 3 classic settings promised by Wizards of the Coast, what are your personal desires for the next 2? I don't freaking care, because Eberron, dude, the Eberron campaign setting they made is amazing. You can flash whatever you want in front of my eyes, I don't care. Eberron is cool, and I already have what I want. So I don't really care what they do. They can do whatever they want. What do I want them to do? I want them to make a campaign setting that will appeal to the most amount of people possible to make them money. That's what I want them to do. And that's hopefully that's what they're planning on doing too. I don't really care otherwise. Oh, you wanna know what I'd like them to do? Forgotten Realms. It'd be great if the official campaign setting of 5th edition actually had a campaign setting book. And if you tell me Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, SCAG or whatever, is a campaign setting book for 5th edition for Forgotten Realms, dude, I will track you down. That pathetic, pitiful book is the worst book of all 5th edition. Like, they need to burn that. They need to do a recall on that. They need to get on their knees and apologize for putting out that piece of crap and give us a real Forgotten Realms campaign setting. So maybe that. When do you think we'll get 6th edition? 50th D&D anniversary, perhaps. I hope not. Here's when you will get 6th edition. You will get 6th edition when it makes the most financial sense for Wizards of the Coast to do so. They will make that decision based upon finances. It'll be a business decision. It will be a business decision. When they feel like it's time to move on to the next one, for whatever reason we feel like, financially speaking, it's best for the business to start doing a 6th edition, that is when you will get it. And who knows how they make these decisions, but ultimately it will have nothing to do with the players, the fans, or anything. It will be a business decision, and it kind of should be. They need to stay in business so they can keep on creating products for people, and they employ people, so people need jobs and crap, but that's probably going to be the biggest thing, and who knows how they make those decisions. A lot of times the next edition comes about when they've broken the current edition enough. Like, when you have so many 3.5 splat books that the game has become broken because of all the combinations. Hey, we're we're gonna fix your problems with a new edition. So once they've managed to break 5th edition enough with splat books and different combinations that come out, then they can come along and be like, wow, that's a mess. Let's be the heroes here and give you a new edition. That's not how they're gonna say it, right? You know, but that might have something to do with considerations for a new edition, but I have a feeling it has more to do with business decisions and finances and stuff like that. It's the same reason that textbook companies, who's gone to college or bought college books, you know, and your professor always tells you to get the 13th edition, and you're like, the 13th edition, that's $200. Holy crap. And then you look at the 12th edition, and the 12th edition is $30, and you're just like, wait a second, $200 for the new edition, $30 for the old edition. It's just 13th edition, 12th edition. Like, what's the difference? And you compare the table of contents, and it's got the same stuff in it. History did not change. History of the medieval time period did not change from the 12th edition to the 13th edition. So why did they have to publish a new book? Well, because they need to make money, yo. and then the professors are all complicit with this money-making enterprise to make new editions and stuff. And so they tell you have to have the latest edition of the math book. I went through college buying old editions the whole time, saved tons of money, and just had to match up the chapters and stuff. And I learned the same amount of crap. I got the same grades. It wasn't that big of a deal, and I saved tons of money. So I don't know. We got on a tangent right there. The problems in the math books were different. They made new problems. It's like, okay. You morons. How do I get my dungeon master to let me run a dark elf warlock in his campaign? He said that character would overpower his campaign. Dude, he's the dungeon master, man. He gets to make those decisions. That is his prerogative to decide, these are the things that I allow in my campaign and in my game, and these are the things that I don't. That is his prerogative. There are dungeon masters who don't allow multi-classing for good reason. There are dungeon masters who don't allow certain character options from Tasha's for good reason. That is the dungeon master's prerogative. They are running the game. They get to make those decisions. You're gonna beg them, you're gonna bribe them, you're gonna demand, you're gonna get all angry, you're gonna threaten them. Like, dude, nah, man. Get excited about something else. If you're dungeon you either get excited about something else and do something different. If this is a game, if that's the character you gotta play, then you might have to find a different game. But the dungeon master has the right to put limits in their game on certain things, and that's just that's the way it should be. And if you feel your dungeon master is being unreasonable, then you might want to look for a different game. I did that one. I'm at the end of the questions. Oh, I guess it's time to go home. Actually, I think it's time to do a cat strike. We should do a cat strike. Look at this. I have a jar of cat crack right here. Are you guys ready for this? This is catnip, by the way. This is catnip. Luke does not have illegal drugs. It's catnip. Squeaky's getting all worked up. I gotta find the banana. Hold on. All right, I found it. All right, you guys are in for a treat. All right, Squeaky.
We're getting it. Yeah, I know. He's like, I smell it. I can smell it. Ah! Ah! Oh, I have more cats coming down. They can smell it too. All the way from upstairs. Oh my goodness.
Mommy.
Here we go. Here we go. I'm gonna get some coffee. Going off camera. Orange comes over. He's like, what's going on over here? I smell something. What's going on? Like, I want some of that. Oh man. Oh man. All right, keep the questions coming, folks. What are your favorite resources for homebrewing? I'm gonna come back to that in a second. I'm gonna show you my screen, but I don't want to take the cats off yet because they're adorable. I'm gonna come back to that in a second. What do you think about the rule of cool? I think it's often used as an excuse to make a game ridiculous. It's like, I lean more toward not rule of cool than I do toward rule of cool. Like, I don't want my game to become a stupid big joke just because somebody had a cool idea. However, I do want there to be some level of reward and coolness that will happen because somebody had a creative idea. So, but I balance it. Just because somebody had a really awesome idea or something, or tries to do something really sweet, doesn't give them carte blanche to just like deny the law of physics or the reality of the game world, you know? So there's got to be balance to the rule of cool. But sometimes I say screw it. But usually there's balance. Any tips for a new dungeon master about to run their first game? I know a guy who knows a guy who has 7 cats, who has an entire YouTube channel with DM tips. It's too generic of a question. Have fun and relax. I'm actually doing a the dungeon coach and I are planning on doing a video in April. Is it April? Yeah, I think it's April. It's April video. We're gonna do like a little collab video, and it's gonna be our top tips for new dungeon masters. And I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil it. Otherwise, I could tell you one. Sorry, I gave you a cop-out answer. Examples of the super OP things in other source books I should avoid. Oh, good gravy. What is it? Spirit? Hey, don't start fighting. Like batting at each other. Healing Spirit before they errated it was overpowered. Elven Accuracy is overpowered. There's a Halfling Racial Feat that's overpowered. I forget the name of it. So those are a few examples of things that are overpowered.
There's a barbarian. There's a barbarian subclass, I think, called Ancestral Guardians that is super overpowered. In Tasha's, there is I think it's a wizard or a sorcerer subclass that gives you a summon that can basically teleport the summon and everybody around him every single round. Every single round you have a free teleport, and it's multiple people get teleported. That's way too powerful. That's crazy. In combat and out of combat, it has it's so powerful. So there's a few examples of things that I've personally run into that are ridiculous. I know I raised my voice to Orange and he was like, "Oh crap, I got in trouble." Look at him, Squeaky's going at him. There's two things. You guys don't have to fight over it. There's another one right there. Move your butt to the other one. My other cat's running after the laser pointer. Fire druid. Oh, it's a druid. It's a druid. Okay, thank you. I get him confused. I don't remember. But yeah. Oh man, now they're going after the laser pointer. I've been trying to use Roll20 and I'm having a hard time trying to figure out how to operate in that system. I can put in requests, but I can't figure out how to get the games. Do you have any? Taking 20 has a Roll20 series on his channel. It's an older series. You're gonna have to do a Google search or dig for it on his channel. But Taking 20 did a very good deep dive into Roll20 and how to use Roll20. So I would go look for that on his channel. I watched some of his videos to get the hang of things on Roll20, and I just experimented and poked around. So I would take a look at that. They're back to rolling around right there. Okay, let's look at my favorite resources for homebrewing. Okay, Emma asked about my resources for homebrewing, so let's take a look at some stuff. Okay, so the biggest resource I'm gonna use when I'm homebrewing crap is D&D Beyond. In particular, the Encounter Builder. This thing right here is very, very cool. Let's say I'm building an encounter for a level 10 party, you know, and I'm gonna pick something like a hobgoblin, and I'm gonna throw few of these guys on here, add some of these. I'm gonna add a devastator, I add a captain, and I can create encounters. So this makes creating encounters very easy. So that's one resource that I use a lot. I will also use this right here is also really good for creating encounters too. I'll put a link to this in the chat here. I have to sign into chat? How do I have to sign into chat? You piece of junk. Oh crap. Oh jeez. Ugh. Now I can't see the chat. There's no way to go back. You suck. Alright, stand by. Stupid OBS. Oh my word. My OBS just screwed me over. My OBS Live just screwed me over. There's no way to go back and exit that. Oh, jeez. You suck so bad. How do I get the chat window back now? No! No! I have just reset user interface. No. Controls, stats. Where is... Oh my word. You guys, I can't see the chat anymore. Gosh. This is so dumb. OBS just screwed me over. I literally have no idea. Where is this? Okay, I'm gonna log out. And I'm gonna log back in. Cannot believe it did this to me. All right, hold on, folks.
Hold on, everybody. We're having problems right now. We're just having some problems. I am professional.
There we go. This thing is so stupid. All right, cool. I'm back. So I'm gonna have to put it over here. There you go. And what else we have? Stream Elements chat. Stream Elements. And it doesn't say that. It doesn't have any of that crap, man. Oh, yep, I see it now. Okay, cool. What else? Homebrew stuff. What else do I use for homebrew? I use... This is what I use to, when I'm creating a homebrew creature, I will use the 5e Tools CR calculator for balancing a homebrew creature to make sure the creature is not like way overbalanced or way too powerful or something. So I'll use this to help balance stuff. And I use Donjon a lot. Where is that? I use Donjon a lot. The main thing I use this for is a monster list. It helps me find different, like if I want to do, let's say I'm gonna do undead. Well, there's all my undead now, and I can even find different like challenge ratings and stuff if I want. So it's very good for that. And sometimes I'll use it for random treasure, like a random treasure generator. Like I can come in here and I can pick I want treasure hoard, and I can generate like a treasure hoard really quickly with it. So Donjon I'll use a lot too. Those are pretty much it. I don't use a lot of other tools for my homebrew stuff. That's really all I need. And then I'll use the source books, you know, the actual books that I have, but that's kind of it. I don't use a whole lot of online tools. Those are the tools though that save you time. Doing all those calculations for you save you boatloads of time. How do I help my most timid player engage more in the sessions? First, you got to make sure they actually want to. Sometimes people are quiet and they're happy being quiet, and they're having fun being quiet, and they're having fun just watching other people play. And then when it's their turn in combat, saying what they do. Some people don't want to be put on the spot. Some people don't want to have to talk a whole lot and all of that. And they're having fun anyway. So I would say be careful that you're not trying to push someone to do something that they don't want to do. They're there to play a game and have fun, not to be like, it's not like they're at a job and it's like, well, you know, you are passing out programs at the baseball stadium and we need you to be vocal. You need to be vocal. That is your job. You need to do it. We're playing a game, so don't push them to do something that makes them uncomfortable and they don't want to do, is the first thing I would say. If they want to engage more and they've told you that, then you can give them space to do so by quieting down the other talkative people and giving them a turn and calling on them so they have an opportunity to do it. If they want to, you know, but really all you can do is provide space for them, provide the opportunity for them to do it. That's your role. it's up to them to decide to talk, to decide to come out of their shell or whatever a little bit and make the effort or whatever. You can't force them, and I wouldn't try forcing them. You could encourage them a little bit, you know, but don't push them. It's a game. They want to have fun. They don't want to be feeling comfortable. They might not want to get put on the spot, and they shouldn't be, you know. They should, I feel like too, there's a problem too, in that there are some players who are quiet and they're playing the game and they're having fun, but dungeon masters assume that because they're being quiet, that's a problem. And oh, they're not engaging with the game, and they should be talking more, and they should be asking questions, and they should be talking and doing these things, and they should be contributing. And this is a problem that needs to be resolved. And I need to do something about this because that player is not talking enough in this game. And that is incorrect. That is erroneous. That is wrong. And that it is not a problem to be solved. There are different types of players. There are the shakers and the movers. There are the ones that talk and engage and are all like, wee! And then there are other players who are quiet and reserved. They are followers, and they are okay with that. And they will sit there and they will see stuff that's happening and they will enjoy it and they will be having fun. They will be quiet and they will be having fun. And if you put them on the spot, you make them uncomfortable and they stop having fun. So be careful. A quiet player is not a problem to be solved. If they're having fun, allow them to have fun in the way that they have fun. Make sure that there are opportunities for them to talk and do things, because it is a thing that the talky, gabby, there are some players who are like, and they won't shut up. And so other players who aren't assertive don't have the opportunity to say anything. So yes, you definitely I call it making space for them to contribute. You need to make space. You need to give them the opportunity to contribute and do stuff. So you got to quiet down the hyperactive folks who won't shut up, you know, so that some of the more timid players can contribute, but don't put them on the spot. Don't make them uncomfortable, because then their fun will decrease. They aren't a problem to be solved, and their way of playing the game, quietly observing, is not wrong. So there's a bunch of stuff for you. Do you have any recommendations on overcoming doubts and about world building skills and the idea your players won't like what I put together? Yeah, get over it. Get over it. Don't be self-conscious. You are the dungeon master. You are going to do stuff that sucks and your players won't like. Accept it. You can't be awesome every time. I think I talked about this like at the very beginning of the live stream. You are going to do things that aren't good. You are going to fail. You're going to have ideas that suck. You're gonna have some ideas that are awesome, some ideas that suck, and some that are just like okay. You need to accept that and be okay with it. You can't be awesome every time. And players should recognize too that dungeon masters are human beings. And not everything is gold. Sometimes it really sucks. Sometimes you're gonna have bad game sessions. Sometimes you're gonna build something in your world that players don't like or they don't find particularly interesting. Here's another thing too. Players don't care about your world a lot of times. That's not why they're playing the game, for your world. So they're playing the game for other reasons most of the time. So don't be surprised if they don't get excited about your cool world. Dungeon masters care about our worlds we create, and we get all excited to create these fantasy worlds, and we spend hours and hours creating cities and governments and monsters and new races and political stuff going on, and we do mapping and we do all these things, and we get all excited about those things. But those aren't the things that motivate players most of the times. So we should not, when players aren't like, holy crap, raving about your world, we shouldn't be surprised about that, because that's not the thing that usually makes them the most excited about the game. It's what we think we enjoy, but players, that's not what motivates them. So you shouldn't expect players to like be salivating over your amazing game world. It's a false expectation. You create your world and you do world building and you do those things for you to satisfy you. And that's the backdrop of the game. It's not the focus of the game, right? Adventures and their characters are the focus of the game, and the cool NPCs they come across, those are highlights of the game as well. World building and stuff, a lot of that's just a backdrop. That's a catalyst, the medium that the game takes place in, you know. The biggest thing about overcoming doubts and fears is to get over yourself and just accept it and move on. I don't know that helps. You can't live your life in fear, dude, especially about a game. It's just a game playing, you know. I know you're putting yourself on the spot. You're creating something, and you be worried that people are going to judge you or something, but you got to get over it. And the more you do it, probably the more comfortable you're going to get at it too. Milestone versus XP. I prefer milestone. Yeah, I don't know what the question was. Especially a lore heavy or RP heavy session. You don't choose milestone or XP based upon one game session. Milestone, the decision of milestone, using milestone to gain levels or using experience points to gain levels is a campaign decision. Like, this is what we are gonna do for the entire campaign, not for a game session. And whether it's roleplay heavy, what does roleplay heavy mean? The whole game is roleplay heavy. I sure hope that when you get together for 4 hours, you're roleplaying the whole time. Combat, exploration, social interactions, the entire game is roleplaying. So I sure hope that for most, except for the pizza break, during the pizza break, when the pizza arrives, you are allowed to stop role-playing and get pizza. But then when you're back at the game table, you should be role-playing. It's a role-play. It's the world's greatest role-playing game. The whole game is role-playing. So, but if you have lots of social interactions, then there's no reason that social interactions can't help you accomplish goals, which might be milestones, which you could give them experience points for social interactions if you wanted to. However, one might make the argument that gaining levels in D&D, a lot of the things you gain when you gain levels have to do with fighting and casting spells that do damage and have to do with fighting. So why would you get better at fighting if you're not fighting? One might make that argument. It's like if you have professional soldiers, if the soldiers aren't either training or actually at war doing stuff, you're probably not going to get better as a soldier. And experience on the field is probably one of the things that's going to help you get the most experience and get the most best faster, as opposed to just training. You know, training's necessary, but combat experience is probably trumps training too. So I don't know. If I were running a game that was mostly just social interactions and there was almost no combat at all, who knows? They might never gain levels. Like, why would you? You're not using any of your skills that have to do with fighting. Why would you get better at fighting? I don't know. One could make that argument. How do you deal with clearly cursed items when players don't care that it's cursed, but just use the positives? You don't. The curse deals with itself. It's cursed.
They are suffering a negative consequence of the cursed item, and they're dealing with the positives. Who cares if the players don't care about it? Oh, so they're nonchalant about it, and they're just like, oh, well, it's cursed. I don't care. Not a big deal. I get the positives. Dude, why would you care? It's like, it doesn't matter. They have to deal with the curse. That is the consequence of it. Just because they have a nonchalant attitude about it doesn't mean that, oh, no, I gotta double down on this. I gotta make it worse. No, dude, just whatever. It doesn't matter. Move on to the next thing. Move on. Play the game. Maybe your curse wasn't cursed enough. Maybe your curse was too light and the positives outweighed it too much, and that was a mistake on your end. Who knows? But I wouldn't dwell on that. That's not the thing that I'm going to lose sleep at night, is because my players are just like, whatever. We don't care about the curse. What are you using for camera and camera holder for your coffee mug? My downward camera uses tape, and it's always at a random angle, and I love what you have. I don't know if there's a way I can show you that. Basically, oh yeah, there's a link. Can you put a link to my Amazon store moderators? David Huber, I literally, on my Amazon store, I literally have a list of all of the items I use for video. All the things I use. I have little bendy arms. My cameras are a Logitech Brio, and then I have two C920s, and then I have these bendy arms that attach. Like this guy is on a bendy arm right here, and all that stuff is listed in my Amazon store. There's a whole list of all the different stuff I use for making videos, so you can go look at it right there and see what I use. Hope that helps. I can't move any of my stuff and show you it though, because I would screw my setup up, and I can't screw my setup up. What are your banned 5e features and why? Let's go look. Let's take a look at my banned 5e features. Let's go to Reddit. I put this stuff all on Reddit. Where is Reddit? I don't go there very often. I hate Reddit. I hate the community on Reddit. People are jerks. Where's Reddit? I have it somewhere. Where the heck is it? I might have to type it in. Did I unbookmark it? Is it totally gone? Okay, let's just go to Reddit. Come on, baby. You can do it! Woo! Character creation rules. Let's see. So my list of banned things. Source books not allowed. Unearthed Arcana. Do not use third-party or homebrew stuff. Stick to official Wizard of the Coast rulebooks. I have reasons for all these rules. These are my personal rules. I am not saying that other people should necessarily follow these. Somebody asked me what mine were. I'm sharing you what mine are, and I have reasons for these. I'm not saying that you should do what I do. I'm just sharing my own personal thing. Specific things not allowed. Races that give flying at level 1. Anything from Unearthed Arcana. Path of the Ancestral Guardian. Elven Accuracy. Bountiful Luck. And custom lineage, which is Tasha's character option. So those are the specific things that I have come across in the game that I have decided, no, this shall not happen again. So there you go. I think that's answered that question. Oh, Cloak of Displacements. It's not that Cloak of Displacements are banned. I'm just never going to give you one. Oh yeah, Goliath Cleric, Path of Ancestral Guardian. It was so broken. We had a one shot and it was so broken. Bountiful Luck. That is a halfling racial feat. Bountiful Luck
One game session is all it took for the entire group to see how broken that feat is. Oh my god, it was like that. If they had play tested that stuff, they would have known immediately that it was broken as crap. It was amazing. I don't know, I used the deck of many things. I actually used the deck of many things about a month ago with my youngling group. They're about level 10, and on a whim, I gave them the deck of many things, and they were drawn from it. And one of them lost their soul, and she had to make a new character. Some of them got some really cool stuff. One of them gained 2 levels and then lost a level because of another card. So I use it. I just know that there could be extreme ramifications and consequences that could change the game when I use it. And when I'm okay with that, I put it in the game and we see what happens. Something fun might happen. Who knows? So I don't ban that. I just introduce it when I want to. It's intentional. How would you deal with a monk's stunning strike ability? I don't deal with it. I'm not like how would you deal with it? It implies that I'm going to nerf that ability or something because it's super powerful. Is it super powerful? Yes, it's super powerful. It's also one of the few things a monk can do that's any good. Like there are many things monks are underwhelming in a lot of ways. The stunning strike is they're a one-trick pony. That's what they do. So if you nerf that, then what can the monk do? So is it powerful? Yes. Should you nerf it? Nah. Look, here's the thing. Stop deploying one big bad guy against your enemies. Stop having encounters where there's one big powerful monster. If you have tons of encounters where there's one big powerful monster, there is a plethora of things in the game that's going to screw that encounter up. Stunning strike is but one of them. And your bosses, your lieutenants, your big bads should have legendary resistances. And so if they fail against the stunning strike, they use a legendary resistance. Boom, there you go. For the same reason, if they get hold person cast on them and then they get critical all over the place and die, big bads need legendary resistances. And you really shouldn't deploy single bad guys against your players. You should have several bad guys for a variety of reasons. So I feel like if you're designing encounters in a certain way, which I will term as a proper way to design encounters, then stunning strike shouldn't really be an issue. Who is pointing the laser for the cats? I literally have an automatic laser pointer. It's on a little stand. It's actually shaped like a cat head, and it comes on every 15 minutes and just goes around in an ellipses. It goes around in an ellipses, and then it'll come on every 15 minutes for a while, and the cats will chase it around. So it's just automatic. It just happens all throughout the day. It's to help get them exercise and stuff like that. Give them something to do so they're not just sitting around bored all day, staring at me. I don't use flanking optional rule. I stopped using the flanking optional rule 4 or 5 years ago. It was a while ago. There's a variety of reasons I don't use flanking. Flanking is a very messed up rule, and it's very, very powerful. Players who know what they're doing can really use flanking to their advantage and be very, very powerful with it. So no, I don't use flanking. Flanking is dumb. Who was it? It was either XP to level 3 or it was taking 20. One of them made a video a while ago, and their video was flanking is dumb. And then one of the other one made a video that said no, flanking isn't dumb or something. I don't know, but they did some videos about that. You guys know what I'm talking about? Was it XP level 3? Yeah, flanking is dumb. It is dumb. Getting advantage by flanking is dumb. My simple fix, if you want to use flanking, give a +2 to your attack. Boom. Advantage is a very powerful mechanic. And at the extremes, advantage is so more powerful. People will be like, well, advantage is an average of a +5. No. No. At the extremes, it's amazing. Look at the curve and stuff. It's a very, very powerful mechanic. Yeah. So no flanking. If you want to use flanking, make it a +2. Call it a day. And I think that's a simple fix for it. Did you answer the question about using physical source books while DMing? Probably not. Is that the question? Do you use physical source books while DMing? Yes. Yes, I prefer physical source books. Any tips on physical source books? Yeah, they're cool. I want to because I love how they look and feel. Well, then use them. If you like them, use them. I use physical source books. I have all of them. And I reference them at the game. I do not like using D&D Beyond to look stuff up. It is a big fat pain in the butt. And modules on D&D Beyond, they're worthless. What are you going to use it for? I'm going to use the physical book. Come on, let's be real. The only reason to have a module on D&D Beyond is to pull the map off from it and be able to put the map in Roll20. But when you can buy the module in Roll20, why would you want the module on D&D Beyond? It's worthless. I get no value out of it. What the things that are worthwhile on D&D Beyond for a dungeon master are player handbook, Xanathars, Tasha's, Volos, Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Once you have those, it's like you don't need the stupid modules on D&D Beyond. So yeah, you use physical books for sure. I mean, that's my personal opinion, obviously. Now. Today, the D&D Beyond introduces a virtual tabletop. Oh, and if it doesn't suck, if it's actually good, you know how awesome it would be to just be able to use D&D Beyond for everything? Character creation, virtual tabletop. And when you buy a module, it comes with the virtual tabletop part, so you don't have to buy it again on Roll20, you know? Oh. If they get their heads out of their, if they make a virtual tabletop, that'd be fun. If it doesn't suck, it can't suck. As long as it doesn't suck. Because if it sucks, then nobody's gonna use it. It's gonna suck, you know? Do you play or try out or run any non-D20 systems? I've played Call of Cthulhu in conventions, and I love Call of Cthulhu, by the way, and I love the mechanics of it. And it's not a D20 system; it's a percentile. Most of the things are percentile rolls, and you're rolling under a number, so you're trying to roll low. Low is better for the most part. So Call of Cthulhu is a lot of fun, so I played that. I've never run it before. I've only played it about 3 times. Very, very, very fun. I'm pretty sure all the other games I've tried out at conventions and stuff have been D20 systems. Pretty sure all of them have been, except for Call of Cthulhu. Call of Cthulhu mechanics are very, very good, though. I like how they did their mechanics. Very, very good. Trippity Hippie, what's up? Thank you for the $5 super chat, man. I appreciate it. I have a difficult player who only engages to make overt anime references, or slashes acts and he won't cooperate, or engage with NPCs at all. Help. Okay, so if you have a problem player, you need to talk with the player. So this is a generic, whenever there is a problem with a player, these are the steps you take. You talk with the player.
usually in private, just you and the player is the best way to do it. You talk with the player. You talk about the problem behavior. Make sure, say, hey, when you do this, when you do these things, it causes this problem. Okay, so you got to be very clear, identify what they're doing that's causing the problem. You need to identify what the problem is, and then you need to ask them, you know, you make sure they understand why it's a problem. Make sure they understand why it's a problem, and then you need to ask them to stop. That's it. Very simple. Conversation. You do this, it causes this problem. This is why it's a problem. Please stop. There you go. Boom. Now, who knows? That they'll go a couple different ways. One, they are receptive to your coaching, to your feedback, to what you're telling them, and they will improve as a player. Two, they're like, no, I'm gonna do what I want. Screw you. Okay. Now, if they improve as a player, boom, everybody's happy. You're good. If they don't improve and they're like, whatever, I'm gonna do whatever I want, dude, shut up. You know, then you need to make a decision. Is this problem, again, is it a showstopper? Is this problem so bad that they need to leave the game? That's the decision at that point. If you've spoken with them, they refuse to change, then you need to decide if they need to leave the game or not. Is it that bad? I have had problem players who were doing things that were not showstoppers, and I decided I'm gonna put up with this. I'm just gonna live with it because it's not worth kicking them out of the game over this thing. I have had other problem players where it's definitely worth kicking them out of the game. So I have, for instance, I have a player right now, very, very talkative, and he tends to go off on tangents about things that are about D&D, but are not about the actual thing everybody's doing. And it takes everybody out of the moment. It takes them out of the game. He's talking about D&D, but it's not what we're here to do. We want to play the adventure. We want to play the game, you know? So is that a problem? Sure. Does that kind of mess up other people's fun and stuff? Yeah, when he does it too much, and yeah, absolutely. But is that worth kicking him out of the game about? No. I just reel the conversation in. I just say, hey, dude, that's great, but let's get back to playing over here. And then, oh yeah, and we go back. So that's just gentle correction to draw things back to playing the game. It's not I'm not gonna kick the dude out of the group over that, but I am going to curb that behavior so we can play the game. Now there's other dudes that will do crazy stuff that they get booted and they're gone. Goodbye. We're not doing that here. You know, so it just depends on what the behavior is and how extreme it is and how much of a showstopper it is. If you can tell that behavior is causing everybody else to have less fun and be annoyed and irritated, if he is ruining the fun for everybody, you probably need to deal with it. And if it's that bad, then he might need to leave. Anthony, thank you for becoming an adult dragon. Appreciate that. I answered that. Oh, mommy is rolling. Mommy is rolling. She's so adorable. she's getting all the catnip. When you're doing world building for a new campaign, do you have a method for finding a good scale for your world? Things like determining distance between major cities, country size, etc. First of all, I don't do world building. The world that the adventure in the campaign takes place in is the least important part of the entire game. Nobody cares about the world. They do, but they don't. World building is the least important part of running a good game. Adventures and NPCs and having cool things happen, and the player's characters are all way more important than world building. So I focus my efforts on creating adventures. I have no interest in creating worlds. So I do not create worlds for my games. I create adventures. And that's where the fun happens. I use pre-existing worlds like Forgotten Realms or Eberron. However, when I was writing things back in the day when I was like going to like try to publish books and stuff, before I learned how horrible a process that is and how horribly stacked against you the odds are, and the fact that you could probably write manuscripts your entire life and never make a dime off from them. Before I learned the cold hard truth about being a published author, I would create worlds for my books that I would write. They're all manuscripts, none published. And when I was doing that is actually a problem that I would have to consider. How do I determine distances? And I would find maps. I would find old maps, maybe from like medieval times, and see how far apart major cities were, and try to figure out what their populations were, and if there were villages in between. I would basically just try to find historical stuff and make my best guess. But at the end of the day, it is a fantasy world that you are creating, so there is no right or wrong answer. It's not like you're going to get it wrong. You just do a little research, learn a little bit of stuff, and then make something up. Make something up. Your players are probably not going to question, like, what? How is it these two cities are a day apart? That doesn't make any sense. Your players are probably never going to question that. And if they do, you do not have to explain it to them. You do not have to justify it to them. You keep your mouth shut and you let them speculate. You let them think about it. You wear the poker face, because there is a reason, even if you who made the world don't know it, there is a reason. Your players just don't know what the reason is. So let it be a mystery for them to either think about and speculate about, or to forget about. But you do not have to justify your decisions. The world exists. It is what it is. And the players can just wonder why that thing is. You don't have to justify it or have a reason for it. It just is. And then if there's a mystery around it, there's a mystery around it. And yay, your players can just have a cool mystery. What do you think of cross-setting races or classes, like Ravnica races and Faerun modules? I have no problem with that whatsoever. I don't care. If my player, I actually had a player who recently joined a game who I think he literally took a Ravnica race, a blue-skinned race, and he wanted to play it in Forgotten Realms. And I looked at the race to make sure it was balanced and didn't have any problems with it, obviously. But once I looked at it and was like, oh, this is fine, I told him, yeah, that's fine. I want you, the player, to have a rationale for why your race exists in Forgotten Realms. That's it. And then that was on him to figure out how his race, that blue-skinned race, fit in Forgotten Realms. And that's all. And then he could play it. I don't care. I try, as long as something is not unbalanced, I try to be as allowing and permissive for my players to play the things they want to play. Balance is my main consideration. I don't really care about story considerations a whole lot. Setting considerations, I don't really care about those things a whole ton. I'm mostly there to run a fun game and have cool crap happen. There are some things, like I will not allow gunpowder. I do not do guns. I do not do gunpowder. I am running a medieval fantasy game with swords and sorcery and magic and all that kind of cool crap. There is no gunpowder. Period. End of story. But Luke, no, it does not exist in my world. So that is a hard line I draw. But most things, it's like, if it's balanced, sure. You know, I tend to be pretty permissive for things. And I will put the onus on the player to come up with a reason why that thing exists in the world. I don't have to be the one that creates that reason. In fact, I would rather they create it so I don't have to spend the time thinking about it. So their character, let them come up with the reason for it. Do you know of any tabletop RPG conventions that are happening anytime soon? I sure don't. Huh, I don't even know. Is there a Marmalade Dog? Hold on, let's see. Usually Marmalade Dog would happen around this time. Huh, yeah. So these guys, COVID has shut these guys down pretty much. So there's no Marmalade Dog. And what about GenCon? GenCon. Is anything happening with GenCon? 2020. Badge registration and event submission will be postponed. Oh, great. Okay, so GenCon, they're probably canceling. There's no countdown if it's postponed, you guys. Okay, so there's probably not gonna be a GenCon. Okay. Yeah. So I can tell you it doesn't look good, dude. Doesn't look good. Marmalade is under wraps because the people who run it are students and they're graduating. Oh yeah, they are graduating in like a month or so. Yeah. Okay. How would you handle downtime that lasts a year or longer? Okay. Your character, so like let's assume that the entire group is taking downtime that lasts a year or longer. I don't know. Try to resolve it in like a half an hour. What do you guys do over the course of a year? Like, come on, you got to resolve that quickly. You can't spend several game sessions resolving downtime over the course of a year. You need to resolve it quickly. You need to resolve it narratively. Like, and why would you want to spend downtime for over a year? Are they spending a year crafting magic items together? Like, is that what they're doing? Like, they're literally stopping what they're doing for a year to craft magic items or something? Or I don't know. Why would you spend that much downtime? Like, they're up to something, you know? Are they using it to just gain power or something? Are they gaming the system somehow? Like, my brain right now is like, why would they spend a year doing downtime? What are they trying to do? Are they trying to learn all the languages and learn new skills, then craft magic items and stuff so they can gain a bunch of power? And they just want you to hand wave it away? If the players were trying to do that, I would probably just be like, guys, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Okay, how about this? How about we do this? While your characters are taking a year of downtime, roll up new characters and we'll play the game. And then when a year has passed, we can come back to those characters. I don't know. If they were trying to game the system, I would probably just be like, guys, what's up? Come on, guys, really? Really, guys? You just want to game the system? Nah, I'm going to change how the system works then, if you want to game it. Now, if it were the case where there are like 5 characters and one of them was going to take a year of downtime and the other 4 were going to keep on adventuring, well, then I would tell the player for this character, okay, roll up a new character. Your new character is going to keep adventuring, and this character, he's doing downtime for a year. Good luck. You'll probably never get to play him again. Oh, they're just building a castle? If they're just building a castle, you hand wave that crap. Okay, a year goes by. You guys have built the castle. Cool. Let's keep playing. In that situation, that's very easy. They got to have the money for it and stuff, but that's a simple one. So it's very context specific, and it depends on your specific situation in the example. Obviously, it really depends on what they're doing over the course of that year. Castle, hand wave it. It's over in 10 minutes, and you have a castle. Okay, let's keep on playing the game. Have you ever tried incorporating mechanics from other systems into 5th edition? I have. They usually don't work too well, and I get rid of them after a game session or 2. Homebrewing mechanics for games,
is not my expertise. It's not my expertise. Like, if you're actually tinkering with the system, tinkering with the game mechanics themselves, that's not what I'm good at. I think the Dungeon Coach is a YouTube channel. He's probably a lot better at that than I am. Homebrew is his thing, but tinkering with system mechanics is not what I'm good at. I am good at creating adventures. That's like my strong suit, and running games and actually running the game for players. That's what I'm good at. But tinkering with system mechanics, I'm pretty bad at it. And when I try doing it, I'm usually not very satisfied with how it works, in all honesty. Oh, one last question. I'm out of coffee, which means we cannot go on. This is the last question. How do you handle player absences? Life happens, I know. However, what would you say if the group is dungeon crawling and the healer has to miss the game? So there's a happy path, and then there are unhappy paths. The happy path is when that character is gone, when that player is gone, another player can just run their character. Boom, you're happy. Whee! That is my preference. When a player can't come to the game session, another player just runs their character. If you're okay with that, now some players don't feel comfortable with that, and that's fine. That's their right. But if the players are comfortable with that arrangement, that is the best case scenario, because then there is minimal impact to the game. Now, in my Ancient Dragon campaign, we had that discussion, and folks weren't all comfortable with other people running their characters. And so what we do is we have a simple solution to this. When a player is not there, tentacles come out of the ground or from somewhere, they grab their character and they drag them away. And they are not there. And then I usually find a replacement player, somebody who will stand in for one game session, who will roll up their own character, and they will play when the normal player, I have an on-call system basically. When the normal player is not there, I get another player to come play for that one game session. They will bring their own character. And so the tentacles come and drag the one character away, and then at the same time, the new character for the on-call player is there. And then you have an entire group and they keep on adventuring. If there is no on-call player, then the party is down. If you can't have somebody else play that character because the player doesn't want them to, doesn't feel comfortable with that, which is fine, then the party is just down one player. What are you gonna do? My recommendation though is you don't have to have some special story reason. Oh no, we have to justify the cleric not being there. Oh no, oh dear, what are we gonna do? We have to, no, don't, it's a game. Just deal with it quickly and keep on playing. You don't gotta make it a big deal, to justify it through story and stuff like that, why they're not there. Ugh. Just whatever, tentacles, grab them, they're gone. Make it easy. It's like that. It's like an ongoing joke in my games that happens. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are done. That is the stream. Thank you for hanging out. It's 9 o'clock and it's time for me to go to bed. So we're done, and I'm out of coffee. So yep, that's the way that works. So thanks for hanging out. It's been lots of fun. I'll see you later. I have live streams on Twitch like twice a week, so you should follow me on Twitch because I live stream all the time on Twitch. I'm only on YouTube about once a month. Most of the time I'm on Twitch. So if you want more live streams, come to Twitch. That's where all the cool people are. So bye guys. Have fun. Go play some D&D. It's the weekend. You should be playing D&D. It's the weekend. All right, I'm gonna end this. I'm ending this shindig now. This thing is over. Bye.